Well, I'll say you take the high road. The reason why I wanted to call is because I'm sick of the high road on my end. I don't feel like the high road, the consequences that I feel.
Bro, that's the high road? Holy shit. Do I need to hire security? Is he coming to kill me in my apartment? What the what's not the high road? Jesus.
Sounds like you're making the drunken girl at the bar deserve the argument when it comes to Destiny's sex life. Sure. He deserves it. He deserves it. Why do you think he's like this? Because he was molested as a kid. And I'm not saying that in a funny way. I actually don't know if he was molested. But I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. And also his grandma had dementia, and his grandma euthanized a bunch of dogs.
Jesus! What the
sounds like you're the useful cock sleeve for socialists. That's what it sounds like.
Like Steven isn't nice in his tone with Myron Gaines. He is. He absolutely is.
Yeah, and he still has contention, and he still clarifies the ideology.
Yeah, he has contention.
And it's funny that Connor knew the exact argument here, and now he's saying that none of that argument applies anymore. What the Connor's giving the exact argument right here, and now he just repeated the dumb version of it to fucking Pisco. How do these people's brains get so fried? I don't understand.
Do you agree that you had a nice tone with Myron Gaines?
Nobody will come out of that.
No?
It is a combative tone. Nobody will come out of that conversation. Tone is more than just your actual timbre of voice. Hold on. How many people would come out of that conversation thinking, "Wow, Destiny and Myron seem to agree on quite a bit"?
And how many people would come out of my conversation and think, careful!
You got yourself, because you knew how much, you knew how foolish you were! Oh my god! Heat in 8K, 120 FPS! Like, he knows this is true! He knows this is true! He knows it's true! We got up DMs leaked.
Yeah!
Why are they so
Wait,
hard
how'd
to
you
read?
even get this?
Who?
How did you get the counterpoints and Pisco DMs? Were they...
I don't know, it's
Is this
posted
like a
on...
leak?
Yeah, it's posted on the subreddit. Cool beans. This was 3 days ago. I'm crashing out over Destiny calling you an anti-Semite. Let me know if you want to call at some point. I hear you, bro. I would want to discuss without a focus on his bullshit. He just wants attention. And focusing on his bullshit would be a win for him since he's desperate for my attention. Then what would you want to talk about? Because honestly, I'm done holding back on him. Yeah, really? On him being a piece of shit and expecting people not to throw elbows back. How do people type? How can you possibly type something like this without a shred of self-awareness? What? I'm fine with you doing it, but I think he specifically wants my attention. I blocked him. I didn't even know he blocked me. And I think it's a desperate lash out for attention. And so I'm conscious of that. Curious your thoughts, though. Call an hour later. Sorry, can you give me like 30? Yep. Okay, gonna be done. We talk. Okay.
I'm done holding back.
Yeah, now I'm gonna get real. Does this start with them chatting, or what does he say he blocked me on? Hold on, I don't even know what he blocked me on. PiscoX.com. Did he mean on Twitter? Oh, yeah. Nice. Oh, and Josiah blocked me. Nice. All right, let's go.
Oh my god. Wait, Josiah blocked
Holy
you too?
shit. Yeah, it's like the whole squad. All right. Jesus
Did you block me?
Christ.
I doubt it.
Check, maybe they did.
Nah, I'm good.
Oh, you don't want to know?
No, I checked.
Oh.
I'm not blocked.
Fuck you.
It's snark.
That's the tight. Yeah, talk about the tight ship. Jesus Christ.
Wait, check the soy pill?
I did. He hadn't.
Shit.
So
I don't think Josiah would block you, to be honest. It's just crazy, too. I guess, like, how much I'm expected to kind of just put up with in terms of, like, all of you guys are kind of, like, just chill and cozy with a group of people who are consistently calling for my death and, like, making death threats against me and slandering me and engaging with me in the most, like, hostile manner over the top possible from literally all platforms. But the second I'm like, I really think that we should probably cover these guys, like, in an adversarial way, dudes. It's, like, total meltdown temper tantrum. Meanwhile, I'm the person who's like enforcing coalitions. Jesus Christ. What was our ask? Like maybe for every 100 Trump videos, it's one anti-lefty video, but whatever. Jesus.
Let me title this and go live.
Do you want me to show my face?
I was live, but I tried to restart and it didn't work, unfortunate. So whatever.
I can put my face on for Discord, so you can use it for your thing if you want. Up to you.
That'd be great.
Okay.
That'd be great.
All right.
Man, you know what would work is if they paid 1/10 of the attention to the lefties as they do to fucking me. Then it would be fine. Jesus, but that's all good. We're tightening our ranks. That's what's happening. All right.
People need to see how handsome you are.
No, bro. They need to see how handsome you are.
Oh, well. All right. Here we go. Okay, so I am pissed for a variety of reasons. I might be crashing out a little bit harder than usual because of my own personal bullshit.
Yeah.
So maybe I should let you lead the conversation a little bit so my crash out doesn't become your bullshit.
Yeah, so the first thing I want to say is, do you support the ultimate power of Galactic Emperor Chief Palpatine? It's a question from Josiah.
Absolutely not, dude. He would literally be a snack to the God Emperor of mankind. On power scaling, he is maybe a regional power at best.
Got it. I hope that answers your question. I think that you're crashing out because there's been this accusation. We'll use the passive language. There's been an accusation that I'm anti-Semitic, and you think...
Which is insane, by the way. And I have you maxed out on my volume, but you're still quite low. Could you choke up on it?
I'll try to be a little closer to that, a little better when it's like this.
Yes, that's better.
Okay, cool. So using the passive language, there has been an accusation that I am anti-Semitic, and my inclination is that like severely frustrates you, given that it's like just an obvious deceptive smear, and it's, in my opinion, clearly motivated by desiring attention, among other things. And
certainly they'll maybe engage with the arguments, I guess, or I don't understand why it's always just so... It's like I don't know what it is about me. It must be my fault because I bring this out of people. Nobody can just like respond to any of the actual arguments that I give. Like nobody can get, but maybe they will. Maybe they will. Maybe they will. Maybe they will. Like it's always like, oh, he must be like personally motivated. And it's like, you can just watch the stream. Like it's all public. You can go through my entire rationale for every single thing I'm saying. Like it's not that hard, and it's not even really that complicated. But okay. Just as a refresher, the argument that I am kind of giving for this, and it's not really an accusation on just Pisco. It's like this entire lefty lib and then DSA coalition is that the permission structure to be anti-Semitic is indistinguishable right now from that of a neo-Nazi permission structure to be anti-Semitic. But more importantly, we would never qualify any other form of bigotry for whatever reason as hard as we do like anti-Semitism. Like if people had created some notion that everybody from Africa is secretly controlling the U.S. government, and they all engage in the same type of behavior, but it's not every single African. Like some of them are good, 10%. That like there's no world where if I say like I don't hate Africans, I have friends that are Africans. I don't want anything bad to happen to Africans, but I need to be able to honestly speak about Africans are literally dictating orders to the U.S. government and their control. I don't have any evidence of that, but like this is like there's no other form of bigotry where we'd be like, well, they're not racist, but they're like creating they're creating like a racist permission structure, and then they're using points that are indistinguishable from other bigots that are being used to further other forms of bigotry against like you would just never use say, oh, this person's bigoted, or at the very least they're part of like a structural bigotism or racism or misogyny or whatever the fuck else that is facilitating it. And I feel like I've my mind a little bit just because the anti-Semitic shit has been used so much by people on the left in the past towards basically everybody, calling them a neo-Nazi or calling them anti-Semitic or whatever the fuck, that unfortunately, it feels kind of cringe to say that somebody is anti-Semitic or contributing to anti-Semitism or whatever. And so I feel like I've been a little bit reluctant to go down that road. But also when I say go down the road, I'm not like here to call people neo-Nazis and like, no, now we don't have to engage with them. But I think that like we're at levels of Zog posting that I've never seen in my entire life before. And none of these guys call it out. Every single person is part of that on this side, and they're all complicit in it. And that's just insane to me that that's like where we're at and nobody can say anything about it. But
it's caught you feeling all kinds of ways. I take the view that like I'm going to defend myself, right? Obviously, but sort of feed it into a distinct personality-driven drama cycle is precisely like the wrong approach. In that it is like dead in the gutter, and it's not worth us being like so upset about it. I think that the accusation is like self-discrediting, and frankly, speaks for itself and how ridiculous it is.
Of course. Well, there you go.
Okay, but my frustration with the exact same drama is, and maybe I'm tagging things together, which might be unfair to the situation. But after Steven and I had a personal split, there was crossover between our communities, and there was an attempt, at least in my opinion, I attempted to retain some of the people that had like cross-pollination between the communities. But the truth is, in my opinion, that the drama and its after effects tainted our relationship to the point that those relationships weren't sustainable in the long term anyways. And so all I did while trying to be as honorable as I could was I still lost the community members that I cared about.
Like, just to be clear, the drama, quote unquote, that Connor is talking about is apparently calling Child Protective Services, the FBI, and I guess multiple local law enforcements because a snarker convinced him that an email that was sent 8 months ago by somebody who was having a meltdown online meant that me and this person were having extended fantasies that were going to potentially lead up to us trading our children for each other to fuck in real life. Okay, that's the interpersonal drama that Connor talks about. All of this was crazy. And all of that was spurred on by me just casually kind of floating in front of Mr. Mouton. I don't know how I feel about being friends with streamers who have people like Doobie in their Discords 24/7, like in 6-hour VCs, saying that my kid should be doxxed and harassed for the rest of their life. I don't know how I feel about that. And that was the impetus for kind of be like, well, I've known for a long time that you were trying to kid swap with another woman. Like, are you okay? But okay, so that's the background to this drama. So somehow he was surprised that he wasn't able to hold on. I don't know. But okay, anyway, so that was that was that. All right. Well, you floated that you would blacklist them, yes? I don't know if I floated. I don't think I floated any direct prescription. It was like a thing that I was just like openly thinking about with Mouton. Like not to mention the fact that even if I did say the word blacklist, like I famously have the least kept blacklist in the entire world. Okay, in terms of like opposite, I continue to debate. All right, anyone's on the blacklist, but like I didn't even commit to anything on that because Wick came in and talked to me about it, and I hadn't even committed to like anything strong. It was just like there was a thing that made me deeply uncomfortable. That there is a guy called Doobie, the same guy who prepared the document for Connor, by the way, to go over on stream. That guy was in voice chats for 6 hours a day talking about why it would be okay to A-log my minor child, and then 3 years in the future, if he's ever an adult and tries to go to college or get a job somewhere, he would have people like Doobie constantly hounding him. I think so. I feel like that was kind of an explosive situation. But okay, we'll just say interpersonal drama.
Be as honorable as I could, was I still lost the community members that I cared about. And so what's ended up like slowly, but I did lose them in the long run. And so at this point, it feels like elbows can be thrown in one direction without consequence. And that's what pisses me off about it, because it's poor argumentation, it's drama farming. I think it's flat on its face laughable. And yet the people who are oftentimes the targets of this, and I would say that you and Josiah were the targets of this within the past 72 hours.
And then like, just to be clear, I openly argue with and I'll fight with anybody in my community all the time, famously with both the people on this call. I've had tons of huge debates and fights before. When I say fights, I don't mean like squabbles or whatever, but just like fighting over political things. The idea that like you can only throw elbows one way and I'm intolerant of any, this is just a weird Hassan talking point that has been into their skulls. I don't know how it's so effective.
Usually like the biggest person that like people can push over, and you will just like take it and continue on.
Yeah, it's
which
like
is, I think, like a flaw of yours. But yeah.
Sure. Well, yeah, I'm trying to do it as much, but like it's just like insane that like this talking point is just so readily accepted without like a second thought in their mind. But okay.
You have to be the bigger person. You have to say, oh well, they're just looking for my attention, and it's kind of silly anyways. Otherwise, you invite more additional negative attention. But for me, I'm like, F that, you know, it's so stupid that it's like laughably poor ground to fight on. And I've been talking for too long, but I would like the opportunity to articulate that in a moment.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's all good. I want to explain why I do what I do and why I take the position that I do. Like, I definitely have certain feelings about going to my Jewish co-host on Live and Learn to explain why I'm anti-Semitic, and saying I'm like more anti-Semitic openly than Nick Fuentes or a neo-Nazi. But I take that to be...
That was a wild quote. I actually lost my bananas on that one.
I feel like it's really wild to me that Hassan Piker, with 30,000 viewers on Twitch, noticed on stream, quote unquote noticed, that I'm really important, is Israeli. And said he's Israeli. Not Zionist or whatever, just Israeli. And left that up to his entire audience after he spent the better part of the last 2 years saying how all Israeli people need to be killed. And people like Pisco would have all to say about it. But, you know, I think that's kind of crazy. But that's just me.
I just take that to be evidence that it's not good to get into personalities.
Because it's, also if you have like a friend who's a certain thing, then you can't possibly be contributing to or facilitating bigotry against that personal thing. I have the black friend.
And it just makes me more convinced that the best thing to do is to just...
Coming in to say that Pisco is an autistic warhead. Is he like afraid of ever admitting he is to correct a position? He can never, ever do. That's just not possible. You want the best example of that? Wake me up when Pisco finally comes to terms with how unfathomably wrong he was and being complicit with pushing the Hassan lie about the huge detainment with TSA or whatever. Like, that was a straight out, I think we knew that on day 1 or 2, that was a massive lie. Pisco never corrected on that position. He was completely and totally wrong on it. But he was one of the biggest stands of that but he'll never come back from that, or like he'll never admit that he was completely wrong on that.
Just keep it to the issues and to try to leave the mudslinging to the people in the gutter.
But
True.
but maybe I'm a gutter person then. So the reason why I've gotten frustrated with this is because
Why did you drop the snarker stuff? Feels like you don't talk about it anymore. Because that space has been nuclearly detonated. A lot of that space kind of started to fly
Oh yeah,
apart.
they kind of died.
Oh
huh?
yeah, a lot of people broke from it. A lot of the pressure on those communities made it a little bit untenable. So now Jessica generally focuses on a little bit of drama slop, but just like lefty snarker stuff now instead of just like the personal drama snarker stuff as much. So I think we busted apart that shit pretty well.
but maybe I'm a gutter person then. So the reason why I've gotten frustrated with this is because we all started in the proverbial trenches of the panel scene. So we started in the Prime Kai Reverie Roundtable. We started in the Dylan Burns Hippy Dippy Roundtable. And of course, like there was an element of personality throwing elbows, mudslinging, personality attacks, etc. within those spaces. But I always did feel like the best people were the people who were capable of not only receiving those attacks, but then articulating something intelligent. And so for me, continuing at this point in my, whatever you want to call it, digital media career, I don't have this like, oh, I'm above attitude. And not only that, but it feels weak. And I'm not trying to criticize you with that because I think it takes a certain amount of self-restraint in order to not respond. But it feels one-sided to not respond because the argument is so laughable, which I want to articulate real quick. I was watching Steven's conversation with Mantis justifying his poor behavior. And in there, he asserts that bigotry is defined, and then he basically defines systemic racism. Then he conflates systemic racism with interpersonal bigotry. Then he goes on to accuse you of having not only interpersonal bigotry against Jewish people, but of having such flagrant bigotry that you are equivalent to a Nazi. Whereas, what I think if we look at it descriptively is you are, and in my opinion, I share this opinion, but it's nowhere near as charged. You are sometimes too nice, too far lefties who are anti-Zionist. That is not the same thing. And to pretend it's the same thing is absurd.
I agree. I mean, I think it's a disgusting thing to say. But what do I get out of litigating?
It's so funny also seeing like how like sad and upset, like I can't believe I'm being called anti-Semitic. Like meanwhile, if you're like racist attacks against Jews are at an all-time high in the United States, and you have like the entire faction of the far left is like just openly hostile towards Jewish anything, and anti-APAC has become the singular calling card by which a lot of these people unite around, and none of these people have had fucking anything to say about it. But it's the white man's fragility, okay, on full display here. Jesus Christ.
in a nasty, acrimonious way. How is it in my interest to do that?
Does he try to understand why he's being called anti-Semitic at all? I don't even know if he even engaged with it, but that's why we're listening. I'm just curious.
Like I said, it's just, my father told me he would always have the saying, because he was all about like self-control and emotional regulation. Two things. The first is, make a speech when you're angry and you'll make the best speech you'll always regret. That's number one. And two is, if you lose control, you're really giving another person power over you. The power to dominate your emotions, to change like what you say and how you say it. And so I've been reflecting a little bit more about his influence on my life and some of his maxims and wise sayings. And yeah, I just think that I want to approach this defending myself, but where I'm doing it from a respectable position and where I'm not giving into, this race to the bottom. Now, that might seem cuck to you, or like I'm choosing to disarm myself or whatever, but I don't want to allow others to police who I talk to when I talk to them, or to control what I do. And so autonomy is front and center about like what I intend to do going forward. And I think that means being mature and recognizing, yeah.
Like, I don't even know, like, these are just like the most like worthless statements of all time. Like, I don't want anybody to control who I talk to. No one is controlling who you talk to. I think it's just like, if you're on this team, it feels like these conversations should be going a certain way, unless you're actually on another team, in which case that would that might be a good thing to like specify, I guess, if you're not actually like a center-left lib and you are okay with these people facilitating some hostile takeover or whatever of the Democratic Party. But then I'm also confused because I don't know what Pisco's actual position is, because there were bullets that he was biting in the convo with Conduit, I think, I don't think Pisco believes, but it's very dangerous. Have you ever seen like Code Geass?
I think so, yeah.
There is a scene in Code. So the guy, he has an eye, he looks at people and he commands them to do things. Mm-hmm. There's a scene where like he accidentally says something to like his sister, like, "Oh, wouldn't it be funny if I told you to kill all Japanese people?" And then she like, "Oh shit!" And she got mind controlled by it. And that was like a huge turning point in the anime, right? I feel like Pisco has like a Gias where when he like takes a position on something, that's it. He's there forever. So he's like Giased himself into like such like dumb arguments sometimes. Like the argument about oh god, hold on, I'm trying to think. What was the what was I just thinking before I said this? Hold on.
Troll what I do.
Oh yeah. I don't think that he would go on Fox News and give a completely and totally uncritical performance. But so, I think Conduit asked him that. If Fox News was to bring you on and it was just to like bash like a black criminal and, you know, their analysis was correct, would you go on just to support their analysis without being critical of Fox News at all? And they just want you to come on and support their analysis of like why the black criminal's wrong. And Pisco said yes. But I just can't believe that's true. And I feel like he had that was a dumb position that he like Giased himself into. And so I don't think he ever changed it. But there's just no way.
Got it. So they're like positions you think he's just taking.
I can't possibly believe that. Or when he was making that one statement about how like putting up a sign that says like no blacks allowed isn't like, that's not necessarily racist. Or being like a Holocaust revisionist doesn't necessarily make you anti-Semitic or whatever. That like the amount of qualifiers that he was adding for these forms of bigotry it was thresholds that would never ever be placed on anything else. So, I don't know, man.
And so autonomy is front and center about like what I intend to do going forward. And I think that means being mature and recognizing, asymmetry, but that's just the way, I think it's the best way to like.
No, go for it. I think
interest.
that I think the good news is that the what is it? I think they call it like a right to respond or something like that. I've seen that meme thrown about. So nobody would ever deny that you have like a right to respond. But I do think it takes a certain amount of self-discipline and strength to say, well, you know, that's so absurd and flat on its face. Here's my actual positions and F you. And I think that particularly that since Josiah is successful and he does have his own thing going and it's not reliant on slinging mud in the trenches, I am, you know, happy for him in that regard. And then I think you too, if you have a content career that is not reliant on getting down into the trenches in the mud, that's totally fine. For me, it's not the asymmetry just feels, I think the asymmetry feels unjust to me. And I feel like maybe this is just a little bit of personal shit, but like I engaged in the asymmetry because I thought that I would achieve a goal of retaining, staying out of the mud and being thought of as like a more honorable creator and being more patient, and that would be reflected in the outcomes in the audience. But it just wasn't. All that it meant is that one side could behave unilaterally poorly, and I just took the slow consequences of those hits anyways.
Like somebody here is having this like some kind of psychotic break.
Psychosis.
I don't know if there's like a thing where we can get like a psychiatrist or something to pull us all into a room and have a conversation, because it's like Connor tried to go at me really, really, really hard multiple times. He dragged Lauren Southern's name through the mud for no reason but to get owns on me in like online politics debates. Like
he was doing multiple times.
Yeah, and he was leading these things. It wasn't like I was like personally attacking Connor. He's like, well, I'm gonna bring this up. Like he's leading it. And then for him to come out now and he's like, yeah, it just seems like the way that these people are engaging is they're unilaterally attacking me in a way that I've never been able to respond to. And it's like something here has to be, somebody's mind is getting warped here in a really, really, really bad way. Yeah.
And so that's where my calculus is different.
Yeah.
My father's stoicism was natural, but he never gave me highfalutin speeches about it. So I actually like being pissed off.
Like, I hear you. And I'm not saying that there aren't trade-offs to the approach. I'm not saying that, like, I know what I'm doing is perfect or whatever. But I think that, for example, litigating in acrimonious, sharp terms, cross accusations, getting involved in like personal life stuff, that all is, I think, not going to help me. It's not going to
like personal life stuff. Like I don't think I'm any personal life attacks at Pisco, unless like being anti-Semitic or something is like this is like a bigoted claim that is just like a personal life thing. Like I don't think Pisco is, attacking Jewish people in real life or wearing swastikas. Now, Connor did the most crazy types of personal and attacks everything at me, but I guess Pisco doesn't give a fuck at all about that. So okay,
going to make me happier. It's not going to make
do
me.
Do you remember the original Batman with Christian Bale, the first one?
Of course, Batman Begins.
Okay, so there's that scene where he's fighting the guy who's going to become Ra's al Ghul, played by Liam Neeson. and he like slides into a certain position on the ice, and he has like a sword pointed at Ra's al Ghul's. Well, I think he's pointed it at his throat, and then Ra's al Ghul says, you know, you traded sure footing for a killing stroke, and then he taps the ice and then it falls through. So my frustration with you taking this position, yeah, sure, you don't need to do this, but we're all competing within the marketplace of ideas. We're all creators. We're all, you know, personalities and all that kind of shit. And for me, all you would have to do within, let's say that you and Steven had a one-on-one conversation. All you would have to do, in my opinion, is...
Hold on. Destiny, wait. Pisco said that he would go onto Fox to talk about a case if he agreed, not just to bash on a black person, and that he would offer supplementary info to counter the obvious racist slant that the Fox would... No. I think he was asked clarifying questions on this multiple times. If he was only brought on to agree with a Fox News narrative where they were correct about a thing, not to offer any other substantive pushback on any of the other stuff that they say or do, even related to like group of people, that he would be okay with that appearance. Unless I misunderstood that conversation, I'm almost positive that it was clarified to that level. So like, black person does something bad, there's a huge, like, what about that track dude? Wasn't it a black kid that stabbed somebody? That they were like, Pisco, can you come on and give legal analysis for why it's actually really good that this kid got charged with murder and convicted, blah, blah, blah. That he would go on just to do that and then leave. And that would be it. It wouldn't, and whether or not all of Fox was like hyped on black people murdering somebody because it's a really good story for them, he wouldn't care about any of that. I'm almost you're making me doubt myself. I'm almost positive that that's what that was his position. That's why I said it was so unbelievable. There's no possible way that he could feel that way.
Within, let's say that you and Steven had a one-on-one conversation. All you would have to do, in my opinion, is tap the ice and he falls through.
No.
Because the anti-Semitic charge is so laughable and absurd. And his mixture of definitions
had, like, a psychotic break. I never knew him before, but like this guy is off the deep end.
So laughable and absurd that, like, if anybody went into that argument and they felt like you were actually an interpersonal bigot against Jewish people, and that's what they extracted from the conversation, it's because...
Like an interpersonal bigot. This is exactly the thing I was saying that made me feel so weird about these conversations, was like, we would never, ever, ever apply this standard of bigotry to any other group of people, except for Jews. We would never, ever, ever apply this standard of bigotry to any other group of people.
Can you explain that a little bit? Sorry.
That if I were to say that, like, it's hard because no other country also has just like they're the only country for that group of people. But if I were to say something like, I'll just use the continent of Africa. Like, if I were to say that I feel like Africa has too much control on the United States, the Africa Pac or Africans in the United States are like in control of our government. I think that they're like trying to outbreed. I would have to find like the similar things that map onto the same conspiracies that people would say about great replacement stuff in black people, and then like anti-Semitic stuff with Jewish people. The thing is that for somebody like Pisco, or where the DSA left types are, I guess to me more concise, they've gone basically about as far as you can ever go with like neo-Nazi anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. They haven't quite gotten to the Holocaust revisionism yet, but Pisco said that Holocaust revisionism wouldn't make you necessarily like anti-Semitic, but every other quality is there. In the past, the two big ones were that there were Jews that were secretly in control of everything, and that they were utilizing this position to weaken the position of the United States. And I feel like that great replacement thing from the Spain-Morocco shit was like that's another story that if you would have asked me 5 months ago, I would have bet heavily against anybody on the left covering it like that. And basically,
that was a crazy one,
Yeah, but these are core neo-Nazi. Like, this is like some of your requirements to be considered like neo-Nazis. Like, there's also a lot to be said as well for the desperate, pathetic obsession with labeling Israel as the new Nazi Germany. That everything has to like cross over. That like the Palestinian stuff is a second Holocaust. That Netanyahu is like Hitler. That the modern day Israel is just like the Nazi Germany. That the IDF are just like the Nazi soldiers Gestapo. It's like that. It's so much. It's so crazy. It's just. Like, I don't know what you would ever need to change from that position because the thing that triggered me the most about all of this was that when Pisco was trying to have the conversation back and forth with Conduit, he kept making this charge of like, well, interpersonally, I wouldn't hate any of these people. And I feel like that fundamentally misunderstands like almost all forms of bigotry. Nobody would ever say that you require a form of interpersonal hatred to hate particular minorities. Like, I'm sure there were some, I don't know if you would say like the majority of slave owning Americans or the majority of white people in the 600, 700s, do they like hate black people? Like, I don't know if you would say they hate black people. Like, do you hate cows and sheep and pigs that you farm? No, you just think black people are slaves, right? Or I don't know if you would say that like men who denied women the right to vote until the 1900s, until 1920 or whatever, in the United States, I wouldn't say they hated women, right? They just viewed their role in society separately. Like, I don't. It's pretty rare, I think. It happens a lot with like racism, you know, that people will hate other people, but bigotry does not require like an interpersonal hatred. And then, you know, much to the opposite, I feel like a lot of bigotry tends to, and I guess people maybe are working backwards for some reason, but it'll be like rationally justified, you know, like. It's not like the you know, to do the Nazi thing. It's not like all of Germany was like, oh man, we all really hate Jews, and because we hate Jews, let's fucking Holocaust them, right? There was a whole story for how they were controlling the culture, facilitating communism entering Germany, responsible for German media misreporting on the front lines in World War I. That all of this stuff was like part of why there was a huge Jew problem and you had to do something with them, right? It wasn't that they were all, I don't even know if the majority of them were like interpersonally hated Jewish people. Maybe for Germany they did because the hatred for Jewish people is such a unique thing compared to even how they viewed other races. But yeah, it's just like it fundamentally misunderstands bigotry, and it places bigotry in such a box that you will just never be. You could never, ever, ever identify. Like Fuentes would not be. How would Pisco say that Fuentes is anti-Semitic? Like I don't know how. I don't know by what measure you could even consider Fuentes anti-Semitic. And I'm not saying a Nazi or a neo-Nazi. I'm saying anti-Semitic at all because I don't know have I ever heard Fuentes say I hate Jewish people. I hate the Jewish people. I hate Jews. I hate Jewish people. Maybe he has. But like he does think that they control the government. He does think that they force our hand for all of U.S. foreign policy. He does think they're in control of the media and all the politicians. He does think that they try to intentionally weaken the position of the United States of America. Like all of these are the exact same things that people say about AIPAC, by the way. It's just such a weirdo world where this like anti-Semitism gets such a hyper-specific form of defining it such that I guess nobody is ever really an anti-Semite unless you literally come out and just say, I hate Jews. It's like...
actually an interpersonal bigot against Jewish people, and that's what they extracted from the conversation. It's because they're actually 80 IQ dipshits. And so in my opinion, Steven has almost baited you by, you know, pointing a sword at your throat or whatever, but he's on a patch of very thin ice.
Yeah, I don't view...
It's also weird here too. One day I'm going to drug myself up and I'm just going to go with the flow on all these things because it's really annoying. Standing against the wind on this, okay? Like... Where is like this reminds me when people were like the worst thing you can ever call a white man is racist. It's over for him if you call him racist. Where they're like he's pointed a sword at your throat for saying that you are anti-Semitic. Nobody cares right now. That's like the least cared about thing on the planet. Who the
You
fuck
might get invited to podcasts.
Yeah,
for that.
Jesus. Like who the cares? We have Democratic politicians, not many, but are posing alongside a guy who like openly wants ethnic cleansing of the entire country of Israel now. Like, who cheers on terrorist acts in Israel? Like, what do you mean? Like, where he pointed a sword at your throat by saying you're anti-Semitic. Who the fuck is listening to Destiny's accusations? And all my Zionist fans left because they hate me because I fucking hate Netanyahu. So, it's just such a stupid... I don't know. It's so cringe. Whatever.
Your throat or whatever. But he's on a patch of very thin ice.
Yeah, I don't view it that way. I view this... that's precisely the kind of cycle that I want to just get away from. Like, this is the kind of thing which I think is very... I view all of this as kind of a desperate cry for attention. And it's not just him, really. I think also from other... I've been like public enemy #1 on their Reddit. And like, you should see some of the comments that people send me of stuff.
No, Hassan's public enemy #1. Nice try.
Did you hear that?
Some of the comments that people send me?
Whose people? It's Doobie and Dristicle and Kilo and 100%. Yep.
Yeah,
1 trillion%. Same people that probably sent him to Hassan. Yeah.
And it's not just him, really. I think also from other... I've been like public enemy #1 on their Reddit. And
like keep in mind, Pisco literally has me permabanned from his Discord, and he has had for months. So it's like, okay, dude.
You should see some of the comments that people send me of stuff. It's all hands on deck. And listen, I'm not trying to make like a big victim thing or whatever. I can take it, you know. It's not gonna change how I think the best way to just remove any power or control that anyone has over what I do is to just keep doing what I want to do.
Which, when has that ever been not the case in the past like year or two? Like what? What is the? Oh, nice, Kathy Doyle. Yeah, all these people have been in. Nice, they're all there. When has it ever been the case that I'm like, oh, Mindwaves TV?
It's funny that you know all their names. You're like, oh, it's all the usual suspects.
Yeah, all the
actually.
usual suspects are there. Yeah. Jesus.
And I really came back and I was just like, where did everybody go? Where are all you people?
Officer Nasty is there. Nice. Good. All right. There we go.
Oh yeah, I blocked that guy.
Yeah.
He's annoying. He just kept adding me.
And what I want to do is not to do a conversation about my anti-Semitism and defend my honor with him. That's just not something that I'm interested in. And I think it's precisely what this flatly ridiculous and absurd accusation is trying to achieve. I think that's its goal.
Why? It's not like I'm calling him out for like, we need to be, I've already, like, it's funny because I've even said explicitly, like, this is, the anti-Semitism shit is like lost. That's a lost cause. I don't even care to make that strong of a case about it or whatever. It's just a thing that I think is kind of crazy how it's just so permissible now. How do you expand this if I don't have a plus sign on my keyboard? What is the equivalent command?
Oh, Alt F4.
What?
Alt F4?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, I'm just in a different space, I suppose. I am of the opinion that we talked about like moral shit and different like moral responses to people's poor behavior. There's barbarian retributive violence. There's
There's no plus key? Not on my keyboard.
eye for an eye. There's tit for tat, and there's turning the other cheek. And I feel like enough. So number one, my criticism against Steven would be that he postures barbarian retributive violence as tit for tat incorrectly, and his audience eats that shit up. And then my second charge is that I feel like everyone in the space, either due to some like personal code, moral code, and or they just don't want to deal with the dog pile. They just don't want to deal with dozens or hundreds or thousands of people calling you a piece of shit. What they do is they turn the other cheek. And I just think that I'm done in that regard. I feel like enough people have turned the other cheek that he should have learned his lesson by now. He hasn't.
Like, what the is this retard, this mega divorced retarded? What is he talking about? Hello? What? This guy engaged in some of the most insane, over-the-top personal attacks on me because I was thinking about making the request of not having people in his Discord that were justifying A-logging and harassing indefinitely my minor child. What?
How dare you?
Okay. Jesus Christ.
What's funny is you didn't even have to make the requests. Everybody just showed themselves and then
Yeah, true.
them.
Turn the other cheek that he should have learned his lesson by now. He hasn't. And I think that too many people, either due to material comfort or personal preference, they just don't say, hey, fuck you. And that's where I'm at.
Who are all the material comfort people? I guess Dan and Mooten, whose lives my underlings. But I mean, like, who?
Minion, please.
Who has had? Nobody has had trouble spinning off of my community. Like, what the fuck are they talking about? I've never been on an episode of Live and Learn, right?
I don't think so.
And all four of those people were ostensibly my minions. Where am I exercising all of this control?
You're bad at controlling your minions. Look at how many snarkers you got.
True. Like, it's just so it's such a vapid, stupid, hollow, like, it's so obviously the remnants of what, like, the snarker people have fucked into your empty skull. Like, it's like none of the, like, these aren't even good. It's just stupid. I don't know. Jesus.
I think that's what I'm doing. But sometimes I think the coldest way to do that is to, like, just not give in to that urge and to not give, easy attack vectors that are not on the terms you want, right? Like, I think that I'm happy to constantly debunk and destroy all of these, like, pathetic people who call in. Not you, whoever you're thinking. Like, if you called in, I'm not referring to you, but somebody.
Yeah, if you called in, you're based.
If you called in, you're based. I'm happy to do that, and I'm happy to have it be on those terms. But all it takes is just, like, one little slip or something. You say something that, like, isn't completely 100% justified, and then that becomes the kind of narrative. And so it's just about control.
Yeah. You got further to fall. What I would say, though, just so we
I'm
don't
also not
repeat
interested
that,
in it, right? Like, even this conversation right now, it's almost like giving more air to it. If people want to defend me, that's fine. If they don't,
Click trust. What?
because he was molested as a kid. And I'm not saying...
Oh, yeah. Jesus,
I forgot about
Jesus
that
Christ. I forgot about that one. Yeah.
What's the time frame of him sexting his wife? Last February. Literally, he gets food. The drama drops, and he's talking to this chick. Why do you think he's like this? Because he was molested as a kid. And I'm not saying that in a funny way. I actually don't know if he was molested. But I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. And also, his grandma had dementia, and his grandma euthanized a bunch of dogs. When he was a
Jesus.
teenager.
What the?
Diggity dog! This is a rough...
He went for
friend
like
divorce.
all of them.
Yeah,
man.
like what is like
Jesus.
running down? Like what is every single personal attack I've ever heard on this person in my entire fucking life? Also, he keeps on trying to say that he's 5'8", but in the beginning of his career he was 5'7". He lied. He's actually 5'5". He actually is like his grandma was a slave owner. He showed me the pictures of their sugarcane plantation. They do call themselves the Gusanos. Like, Jesus
That's his real last name.
Christ.
Well,
That's fine, too.
And then now he's like, I'm tired of Steven personally attacking us and us never responding to his personal attacks. Like, bro, are you okay?
let me articulate the calculus that seems to have bewildered some of your critics, because I feel like I've heard you and Josiah and other
Who is feeding Connor this stuff? Connor has been getting in the brains by all of these weirdo people who are in all these chats, and that's all
we
they
didn't
do with the
notice
whole
it
life.
for a bit, but when we caught on,
Oh yeah, well after the big thing, they all showed up, right? Maywan, Doobie, Kathy, the Officer Nasty person, this Ali Cattails. I see her snarking a lot. Yeah, they're just like it's like the same like 5 to 10 names that just show up in every fucking Discord or whatever.
people articulate this calculus before. So there is a coalition of people who do not like Trump and do not like MAGA, who need electoral.
Wow, Graham, thank you for the $100. You should play Guam.
Oh, there is a coalition of people who do not like Trump and do not like MAGA, who need electoral power in order to hold the current regime accountable for what they have done and also prevent them from political power in the future. The smartest thing to do, I think electorally, is cast as wide of a net as possible. So even if you find, even if you're not personally a socialist who wants to decommodify basic human needs and have workers own the means of production, you think that casting a net wide enough that also appeals to the Democratic Socialists of America, not specifically the organization, but the 30% of the Democrats who actually identify as Democratic Socialists, that's a reasonable thing to do when you need to win against the right. And so we can have our criticisms of maybe Hassan Piker's rhetoric, our criticism of maybe working with Hassan Piker or whatever. But at the same time, we shouldn't lose our shit and pretend that every single DSA candidate is, number one, a Marxist-Leninist, number two, going to be able to implement a Marxist-Leninist agenda from a governorship position in whatever state we were talking about. And also, adding on to that argumentation, is the fact that you believe that the guardrails are going to hold, that even if we got some lunatic Marxist in power, effectively the balance of state legislatures, the balance of the legislature, et cetera, is not going to institute some like authoritarian, Orwellian CCP nightmare within 72 hours of their election. Tell me.
Like, yeah, that's definitely our position, guys. Man, beat up that straw man. Keep going.
Where I'm missing your argumentation.
Yeah, I don't want a communist Marxist state. I don't think it's very likely to occur. And so someone could disagree with me. And let's be honest, you do, right? You're the person who disagrees with me. The way you disagree with me is
the cringiest shit about this entire thing is I literally agree with Wick, Destiny, and Mooten that voting for a leftist socialist is too far, and it's not a behavior that I myself will do, but I find the vilification of yourself and Josiah so vile, I feel like I need to actually show what you've been arguing rather than what you've been accused of arguing.
Yeah, I think that, like,
I just want to say,
oftentimes the best.
When I talked about Hong like that, it was just to get audience members to go vote. I would have voted for her, and you know, I apologize, and it was out of context.
True. And you didn't say it, but if you did, you apologize for it. And it was out of context. It was. Lots of out of context things going on here, guys.
Best way to convince, let's say that you wanted to convince me, right? The best way to convince me, or the best way to convince Connor, or the best way to convince anyone of something, right? If you're trying to convince them, is to like try to represent their view in the most good faith version that they themselves would accept, right?
After they've said, this has to be a troll. It's got to be this. This is like the MK Ultra thing. It's me. I'm being MK Ultra. It has to be, right? Like, how do they just summarize my positions? That I think that everybody's going to become a Marxist overnight, and that all of my conflict here is just interpersonally motivated by my spite and my obsession with, I guess, trying to get Pisco's attention on me. What?
True.
Right? If I start to strawman a view, or if I start to, for example, be belligerent against me and say that I'm, I don't know what the accusation is, I'm opening the door, I'm not a communist,
Another banger. I don't need to listen. We all know Connor got
Relationship.
What is this?
Sounds like you're making the drunken girl at the bar deserve the argument when it comes to Destiny's sex life. Sure, he deserves it. He deserves it. And he shot homemade pornography.
Dude, how
he
this
sent it to
guy's
somebody with
YouTube channel didn't get banned is wild to me. It's wild.
Hassan made the call. I don't know. I don't. Jesus.
But I'm opening the door for communism or whatever. I'm like less apt to hear you. And so to the extent that like Connor, you're trying to convince Pisco, hey,
Are all these snarkers feeding content creators info? Basically, former DGG fans turn anti-fans, turn snarkers. Yeah, all of these guys get fed info from the same group of people. Yeah, just to go, they make their little documents and notepads and then they ship them out. This is where Hassan probably is getting most of his information from. It's where Pisco.
It's a morning dossier.
Yeah, probably, unironically, yeah. Where
It's like Trump.
yeah, basically, yeah, maybe in crayons too. Yeah.
this is actually a real threat and you're underestimating it. I would rather hear the art honestly from you, because I at least have some confidence that you're going to try to repeat back to me my framing and my values in an honest way. And I think that like a point for all the haters to consider is, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to convince me? Are you trying to convince Josiah? Are you trying to...
No, they're trying to tribally excise you.
That's okay. I don't need to be a part of that tribe. I mean, I can be my own tribe. I can speak for myself. And so if you want to excommunicate me, that's okay. I don't want to be a part...
Like, you're not even in the community. I feel like I'm like I feel like I'm like hanging off of on the very outer edge of all these guys. It's not like we're like... I don't even know, dude.
A group of people who lie about me constantly, lie about my views about these terms and about these arguments, do debunk stuff, and like that's not fun for me.
Like lie about, like we watch it long form. I mean, like we're watching so much of the thing. I feel like I watch more of people's stuff than anybody who has all to say about me. I feel like I pay a good amount of attention to, you know, whatever it is they're saying before I make judgments on it. But okay. Like, I feel like for a lot of it, I even say, like, this, whatever you just said in chat is so retarded. There's no possible way that, you know, XYZ actually said it. And then I'll go and I'll try to find the actual thing itself.
You're like, oh, they did.
And who would it be fun for?
But but this is what pisses me off, and maybe this is part of what gets my goat, is that it felt like, maybe I'm hallucinating things, but it felt like when the scene was more poppin', like 2019 to 2022 is when I was a part of the scene, and we had the Reverie roundtable, and we had the, you know, hippy dippy roundtable and all that kind of shit. It felt like argumentation was so honed by so many key players that there were arguments that were solidly dismissed as soon as they were uttered, and one of them was guilt by association. And so one of my frustrations with this entire line of attack is that effectively I watched a segment where Steven was criticizing you and Josiah for being like lefty cocksuckers and lefty like enablers or whatever, which if you wanted to say you sanitize and normalize far lefty rhetoric by being friendly with far lefties, that's a criticism I have of you. However, he goes a step further and he says that by Josiah trying to be nice to, I don't know if you remember this content or not, but it was either Live and Learn or something else. Wick called in, and then there was another large creator who called in, and he self-identified as a liberal, but a member of the DSA.
Oh, Keith, one of the most retarded guys, who, by the way, 2 days later on Twitter was also saying that apparently I'm in a court case for sending like minors porn or whatever. Like, by the way, or sending minors of porn of minors to other people. I think is what the Keith guy was saying. Who was also retweeting that, you know, that cat. What is the guy's name?
Oh, Gato Fumador.
Yeah, who's like one of the most unhinged accounts on the on X. That Keith, by the way, but okay.
And he was like friendly with Hassan Piker or whatever.
Yeah.
But by Josiah trying to say, hey man, I understand what you're saying, but Hassan Piker is actually kind of a rough dude and has some rough politics, this, that, the other. You might want to take a deeper look. That was the way that was characterized.
Yeah, the argument doesn't matter. I mean, doesn't like
was
you're still
Josiah himself sweeping for Hassan Piker, and that's not what was happening at all. But that was the critique that was levered over and over and over again, was that Pisco and Josiah might as well be Hassan simps because of the Pisco. That was the way that was characterized. Hey man, I understand what you're saying, but Hassan Piker is actually kind of a rough dude and has some rough politics, this, that, the other. You might want to take a deeper look. That was the way that was characterized.
Yeah, the argument doesn't matter. I mean, doesn't like
was
you're still
Josiah himself sweeping for Hassan Piker, and that's not what was happening at all. But that was the critique that was levered over and over and over again, was that Pisco and Josiah might as well be Hassan simps.
Yeah, because all they do is because they ignore every single insane fucking thing that these people say. I don't know why I'm repeating my argument, but okay, yeah. Last one. Why?
J-Stock loves Sherry. He loved that bitch. You think that fat didn't love that bitch? You love that bitch. Wasn't there evidence of Batman and Supreme cheering on the weird cyber person? What the fuck does that change? What the fuck does that change? I just said I was gonna go dig up J-Stock's fucking dad and turn him into a desk. If you cheered me on, do you deserve to get doxxed? The fuck is wrong with you? You guys are so stupid. You just be saying shit.
Yes or no?
Yes or no?
Y'all literally just be saying shit. Demi,
Okay, I don't know. Thank you, ads.
because of the way that they approached the conversation.
I
And it was
hate
so
10-minute
divorced from what the content
True.
actually was, I was pissed. Like, legitimately pissed.
No, I mean, I hear you, but like,
I was so
I think
mad.
the frame of reference that you offered, right, is a rational one, but it's just like not what's being operated. This is not about substance. It really isn't. If you take a transcript of that episode of Live and Learn, and you just follow what people are saying, it's really hard to make sense of some of the complaints about Josiah or IRI, which, by the way, those complaints were made of IRI, that he was sweeping for Keith. I think his last name is Edwards. I didn't even know who that person was. But it's not driven
Processed
by
it out.
a sense of anger at the substance. It's driven by an emotion and a deep and sincere, I think, for some people, feeling of betrayal.
Oh, not the Twitter account. Okay.
No.
But it's not driven by a sense of anger at the substance. It's driven by an emotion and a deep and sincere, I think, for some people, a feeling of betrayal.
I think this is like the final level of like mind implosion, is when you become completely and totally incapable. And it's also like this is just the Hassan talking point repeated, is when you're incapable of addressing any level of the argument. It's just it must be all personal, I guess, and then that's it. And it's
Yes. Yes. And I do think
What ads? I understand he's crazy. Why? I don't need to watch more of it. What?
But I think that at some point it is incumbent upon Stephen where recklessness is no longer an excuse. So, for instance, if we go through the Mr. report and we look at a decade of broken relationships, and then we know that 2022 is the peak of the drama where you guys are in orbit and get driven out of orbit.
I didn't do watch him talking to fucking Lavid, Mr. Girl. I'm good. I saw it. He did it afterwards. Okay. Yes. Every time somebody has an issue, they all run and they all do the group thing. Okay. I got it. Jesus.
There's a personal component.
He's got it.
It's driven by an emotion and a deep and sincere,
bad boy.
I think, for some people, a feeling of betrayal.
Yes. Yes. And I do think there's a personal component for me. But I am I'm just at a different stage, I suppose, where I feel like in our personal fallout, Stephen and my personal fallout, I try to do the right thing, really at all times. But I also tried to be like sane and balanced towards people who were critical of the way that I conducted myself there. I didn't get very much for it. If anything, I feel like I've been punished for trying to be tactful. And I'm just done. I'm just done with it. So I'm not going to have this like unilateral contention where effectively Steven and his orbiters can throw weight around and count on me to not want to.
So he said, your problem with Josiah didn't as H and I don't know what the sentence means. Your problem with Josiah didn't as H and as sanitizing all of Keith arguments by rephrasing them in case you don't remember because Connor is doing a straw man. Oh, my issue. Oh, yeah. I don't know if that conversation itself had anything to do with them sanitizing Hassan. It had to do with the fact that Josiah was hardcore laundering all of Keith's statements. Sure.
To respond due to the dog pile that will incur if I do respond. I'm just going to respond the way that I feel like it. And sometimes maybe that'll be more like you, where I'll just be like, that's small potatoes. Who gives a shit? Fuck.
Like I was done even with despite how unhinged and brain broken Connor's shit was. Like I was done with it after a few days. He's the one who decided was it over a month? He had to do another stream and another one and another one and another one and another one and another one. Like going on like one more thing, one more doc, one more set of logs, one more FBI call, one more CPS call, one more thing. It's like, bro, holy shit. Take a breather.
Right? That it might be like that. But sometimes I'm going to be like, no, that's too far. Fuck you. Here's my line. And here's why you're a piece of shit. And I think that's just where it's at.
To quote a great liberal, I love debate. I love conflict. I seek it out. Okay. So I definitely appreciate disagreement. And I
don't even know who that's supposed to be a snark on quoting Hassan, I guess.
Hassan?
Okay. Yeah, but I don't even know. Okay, good one.
I will, as part of my stream, react very strongly to people in the chat who say things I disagree with. And I will react the way that I think is appropriate. And sometimes, I go a little hard on some commentator or some, some chat.
I said my piece I do consider it. I think at this point, I would say that like these lefty people, if they aren't saying anything explicitly about what's going on, I would consider all of it anti-Semitism. I consider all of them anti-Semitic. But like, again, no one cares about anti-Semitism in the United States, so I don't give a fuck. It's not like I'm every single day. I'm like, Pisco needs to answer for his anti-Semitism. I think they need to answer for the blah 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 blah. Like they're acting like I was like demanding some. Like we need a public statement on you from this when it's like no, nobody's even who cares, bro.
Chatter or someone who's calling in. And oftentimes I feel bad afterwards because as hard as I go on a lot of these people, like, and I want to just be totally upfront and call them like losers and you're dummy, low IQ, all this shit. At the end of the day, and I'm not doing this to be condescending, but it is true. Like,
We're all people.
there is a great deal of overlap in our values and some of the people who call in and who, you know, I do believe that some of these people want to just see the world be better. And it makes me sad that they have this, what I think is an untrue view of my opinions or my intentions, or they think I'm just doing this for money, or I'm just doing, like, I don't know, grifting. But you can't let...
But wouldn't they feel weird to accept the position of laundering anti-Semitic views? I mean, I'm sure they would. And I'm sure, I mean, I don't know if they can talk about it or not. It's up to them. I don't ever force content on any of these people. But I mean, like, I said my thing on it. It's like, it's pretty rare that I, like, harp on the same thing for... you know, like weeks and weeks, unless it's like an active back and forth. Like I generally say my piece on thing and move on. I don't know, it's retarded.
Or I'm just doing like, I don't know, grifting. But you can't let that kind of constant negativity, and trust me, I have received a lot of it. But I'm not like freaking out about it because I feel like I can handle it, and because I don't want to let them have control over me. And if I start, you know, carrying the weight of all this negative shit, you're grifting, you're a liar, you should be kicked off, live and learn. You know, you're not even a true Democrat. You're not even a liberal. You don't even believe what you're saying. You're just hard-headed. If I really let...
I can't believe that for some of the things. I just can't. I can't because, like, I guess it depends on what he considers the greater insult, because I don't think that Pisco is that retarded. Like, the TSA thing is just, it's the most obvious thing that he was just so incorrect on. That I know he's traveled internationally before, and I know that he is a real lawyer from a very good law school, and I know that he understands how TSA works and how immigration works. I know he knows these things. So there's no world where he can really be that retarded that he was just buying the obvious bullshit from the Hassan TSA story. There's no explanation for it other than he was hard-headed, and there just can't be anything. I don't know. I can't make sense of it.
Their sort of negativity and comments get to me. They would have power over me. And that's precisely what I don't want. And so I don't intend to like stop defending myself. There are some ways in which I want to do that, which I don't think are productive, and which
in my opinion, it's also the narcissism of small differences. What I mean by that is if I was talking to a communist or whatever, I might be hostile to them, talk a lot of shit about them or whatever. But I tend not to take those conversations personal because I know we are so far away politically that effectively I'm talking to somebody who just doesn't believe what I believe, so I don't take it personal. Whereas I think part of the reason why the invective is so harsh against you, but also maybe why I'm taking some of this so personally, is because of the shared political differences or the shared political project.
That's why I think it's not
feels
substantive.
a lot more personal.
Yeah.
It feels when somebody in an enemy political tribe calls me a piece of shit, a grifter, a liar, a manipulative, and
wow, good argument. It's so weird listening to them recycling arguments that I've pioneered in this space, and now they're just, thank you. Yeah, this is a good explanation for why the bigotry of small differences does hurt so much. And I know this, and I know that I'm the one who originated this argument because I was the fucking lefty dude that was constantly called a fucking Nazi and a fucking racist over and over and over and over again by everybody in the space. But thank you.
Anti-Semite, whatever. That's water off of a duck's ass because they're not part of my tribe. But when somebody in my own tribe calls me grifter, liar, manipulator, Machiavellian, anti-Semite, whatever, which by the way, they're not saying half of this shit to me, they're more saying it to you. But I think it feels more personal, both for the person making the accusation and the person receiving the accusation because of the perceived shared political project.
Yeah, I get that. I sometimes tell the story about college. When I was in college, I'm not lying when I said I was really against identity politics. Notwithstanding that, I was part of some affinity groups and stuff. I really didn't like this whole, you can't wear sombreros if you're white, go after this white guy with dreadlocks, this whole, like, we can't criticize Islam shit. This was very much in the zeitgeist back then. And I remember, like, speaking out about it and losing some friends and people who, I really liked and who were, I would say, like, close to me. And that experience always, like, stayed with me. And it did feel worse when it was people that, like, I was close to. And it was a learning moment, but it's also one where I think I discovered a little bit about myself. I've changed a lot over the time that I've been, like, speaking out publicly on politics and stuff. But I just know that I can't let these, like, I don't know, relationships or these friendships or these feelings of wanting to please the crowd change my truth. And that's crucially what I try not to do. I don't try to pull back punches because I don't like. I want to just build relationships and that kind of stuff. And
I think you and I share that. I think that's part of the reason why. Whenever somebody accuses you of, like, even in my own chat, there are some people who aren't a fan of yours, but they'll be like, oh, Pisco's bad faith, or he's doing this or doing that. And I'm like, no. I've been talking to this guy for 6 years. Okay.
He's actually saying that DGG is idpol brained. I don't think he's saying that. I hope not. I'm going to assume he was just giving this as an example for something that he fought against a lot in college. But I will say that for a lot of the Marxist types, remember, I've said this a lot, Marxists hate identity politics. They only want to talk about the class stuff. That's the only thing they want to talk about. So, like, when Crystal Ball, and I think I've heard Kyle Kalinske do it a few times, when they do this thing where it's like, oh, like, people try to use wokeness as a weapon and blah, 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 they're just trying to get away from identity politics as much as possible. Crystal Ball's completely jumped the shark on that. I haven't listened to the rest of them mention that. Hassan obviously has completely, abandoned that platform. So I don't think that was him doing it. I think he was just referencing a thing in college. I'm being charitable. I don't know why, but
Okay. He can be pedantic. He can miss the forest for the trees. He can, linearize arguments in a way that's frustrating. But this is Pisco. This is what he thinks. This is what he believes. And so these charges of, fakeness or duplicity or whatever, that they can charge you with many things. Fakeness and duplicity is not the thing that I think you should be charged with. And
now we're all just quoting Hassan's speeches. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't say it, but
I think that's part of the reason why I'm so pissed. But what I would say is, if you just want to repeat that you're going to be an adult and you're unfazed and you're gonna take the high road and you're gonna be stoic and all that kind of shit, then I'm just gonna tell you, like, we don't need to loop. I'll just go back to watching the Mantis conversation and basically getting pissed on my own behalf, or on, not necessarily on your behalf, on my own behalf. But my anger isn't necessarily like, oh, Pisco and Josiah, they're such nice guys and somebody's being mean to them. Obviously, that's like part of it, but that's not the biggest part. My part that I'm actually sincerely pissed about is the argumentation sucks, and it would not survive 30 seconds in a Twitch and YouTube political panel. If we came on and there were 8 of us and Prime was hosting it or Dylan was hosting it, and they're like, Pisco's an anti-Semite. And then they're like, well, what do you mean by that? And they're like, oh, well, he's friend.
By the way, guess who destroyed those Twitch political panels? All the lefty big people that never wanted to participate in any of them because they had no desire to do it, by the way. But good one.
With lefties who are anti-Zionist and who wake up every day and they're harsh critics of the state of Israel. Therefore, Pisco is the equivalent of an interpersonal bigot to Jews.
Like, what? No, again, this is a form, this is like a definition of bigotry that we would just never roll with for anything else on the planet. Like, you have to be an interpersonal hate. Like, nobody would ever use this when talking about any form of bigotry. It's crazy, the weirdo standard that, they're trying to set for this.
Everybody on the panel, including people who are ostensibly on their side that you were a bad actor, would shred that shit in 45 seconds. And that's actually what I'm really pissed about, is the degradation of argumentation in this space.
Panels, man.
I also agree that it's I see that trend as well, but I don't take it like personally that some people seem to not know that this is happening, or that some people don't seem to notice that, like, the argumentation is so bad.
My face when this argument wouldn't survive for 2 microseconds as Josiah and Pisco rush to literally block every single person on Twitter that is making anything related to any of these arguments. Okay. Even Conduit.
I just think that a lot of this is a reaction to a perceived betrayal.
What? Yeah, I think that was part of one of the things that the subreddit kind of felt was weird was Josiah, who seemed to be, like, not really participating much in any of the Snark Wars, whatever the fuck. He blocked Conduit on Twitter.
Really?
I don't know. Whatever.
Oh, and I couldn't disagree more with that characterization. I couldn't disagree more with some of the stuff that people are saying. But yeah, I just, like, want to keep doing me. I think the best way to do that is just to pursue the topics that interest me, and to stand, for my values, and to, disassociate with incredibly toxic people, and to disengage with something I don't want to do.
Like, I don't know why he keeps saying these, like, disengage. Like, he's acting like he's making some huge decision to leave, like, a community, and it's like, this is already what you do. Like, you don't engage with any of this. I don't understand what he's saying. Like, what? You're not engaging already. What do you? What are you acting like? This is like such a dramatic thing for nothing. I don't understand.
Okay, bro. Well, I'll say you take the high road. The reason why I wanted to call is because I'm sick of the high road on my end. I don't feel like the high road, the consequences that I feel.
Bro, if that's the high road, holy shit. Do I need to hire security? Is he coming to kill me in my apartment? What the what's not the high road? Jesus.
Feared from taking the low road have occurred anyways. And I understand that like a good person would say, oh, well, I didn't take the high road because I feared the consequences. I took it because it's the right thing to do. But what I would say is that what we're really talking about when we're talking about high road or low road, we're talking about engaging in conflicts of personality. We're talking about engaging in, I don't know, vociferous criticism of other people. We're talking about getting down into the mud of Twitch and YouTube politics. And the truth is, I've been doing that the entire time. So the only reason why I took the high road wasn't for me. It was because other people said, hey, if you take the low road, I think that's bad, and I think that's going to hurt me on a level to the point that I don't think I can be a part of your community anymore. I was doing it for those people, not for me.
So let me assuage you. I'm not doing this out of fear, right? I'm not doing this out of fear. I'm doing this because I don't want to engage in personalities, and I don't want to have a debate, about my anti-Semitism, give ground and power to.
Hey, what's up?
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yep.
By the way, I have sent you with the medal and with the, the gratitude letter and all sorts of stuff. I have sent you a thing that is part of Ukrainian culture that's called motol, basically. It's the tradition of making them is like 5,000 years old.
Wait.
So I think
cut up. It's called a what?
Motanka. It's a doll done by knitting, like a Ukrainian traditional thing. And basically it's like 5,000 years old in terms of tradition of making it. But point is that I'm just listening to what Connor said, and I think I was so correct, because the dolls are considered to be a protective charm from evil energy, jealousy, envy, and people that wish you harm. Because if that was his high road, you need the doll to protect you from the low road.
Yeah, Jesus
I think.
Christ. Yeah.
So probably put it somewhere when it arrives, put it somewhere I don't know, on the door or something. Because what the you need a protective charm, like a talisman, like a repellent. I don't know, something.
Yeah.
Clearly.
We will hope for the best and see what happens, I guess. Yeah.
That aside, though, you brought that up, I think, a couple times about the Jews and stuff that the people allow. Why do they bring it to individual hatred? It just boggles my mind. Aren't the Westerners supposed to be the whole? We understand racism and bigotry better than any other person, but then it comes to Eastern Europeans or Jews, and then it's for some reason it's I don't hate individual Jews.
I think part of the political moment that we're in right now is for a lot of these subversive lefty types like Hassan that are trying to draft people further and further to the left. For the Marxist stuff, the socialist stuff, they don't want to focus on any identity politics related stuff. They only want to focus on this class related stuff. So it enables them to have their political movement not be distracted by minority issuis or bullshit like that.
Yeah, I get that, but Connor is not part of that shit. So
no, but they're all getting mind into it. So this is just because part of the groups, Connor, this doesn't apply to Connor. Connor's retarded all on his own because he's technically conservative. But for people like Pisco or Josiah, because all of the people that they're now kind of in cahoots with and either giving a free pass to or openly supporting are by any objective. If you were to look at it and compare to any form of bigotry, these people are the rhetoric is neo-Nazi esque. Or it's neo-Nazi rhetoric, right? Jews control the entire United States. They're engaged in mass deportation of immigrants in other countries to try to flood the NATO population, and they control the whole world's media apparatus. And the whole APAC is controlling all of our election. It's not even no corporate money. It's no APAC money. It's just, I think Hassan said that we will not have our next president as one who either takes money from Israel or it's just yeah, but that's a very weird position to sit by and not be something weird is going on here without trying to find a way to kind of dismiss all of it. So now we're going back to our conservative vocabulary where conservatives had very, very, very precise ways of talking about racism so they could never be accused of being racist, right? I remember arguing in 2016, they would just flat out tell you I hate Mexicans. They're lazy as f-. And you could say some shit bro, it sounds like you're kind of racist, man. And they would say Mexico is a nationality. Okay. Or they're I don't like Mexicans. I hate Muslims. I hate like it'll just be like shit like this. Like Muslims not a race. That doesn't mean a race of people. And it's just like okay, whatever. But that's essentially where they've gone back to. Yeah. What?
Yeah, technically, yeah. I mean, they're not a race, and Mexicans are not an ethnicity. But
Yeah.
you can hate a nation, though. Like
Sure. Well, but that's okay.
Ah, okay.
Right now, that's
I
okay.
see.
Yeah.
Well, that's a little bit complex to me, but yeah, it's just I just heard people be like, I think Ukrainians are not a thing. Like they're fake people, and they don't deserve a country. They should be occupied by Russia. But I don't hate Ukrainians, though.
Sure.
And you're like, well, I'm happy, okay, that you don't hate a particular the person was like, I don't hate, like, if I meet a Ukrainian person, like, I'm not gonna hate them.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm like, well,
and this is like a
yeah,
child's
but, like,
understanding of any form of bigotry, right? Like, obviously,
It's
women are
retarded,
more
though.
emotional.
Nobody
They shouldn't
that.
vote. Like, I don't think they should even have jobs. But like, I don't hate women. I just think that's women's role. It's like, okay, but nobody would say like it's just so. Yeah, it fundamentally misstates like all forms of bigotry. It's just so stupid. But it's where we're at now. These are our political conversations.
It made me realize, though, like, why so many Westerners were so pissed off about this, like, oh, Ukrainians hate, like, all Russians, and, they were, like, they're bigoted and shit like that, which is funny to say to people suffering of the way we do from Russia right now, but, it's just, it made me realize that they just don't understand that kind of hating all people is kind of, like, it's a generalizing thing. You can hate a nation, for example, or, like, a group of people, but like individually typically you don't, right? So it's just like if I have like a single Russian dude and he's like fine, I don't know, if he doesn't hate me and doesn't want me to die, then I don't have a problem with the particular person pretty much ever, right?
Yeah.
Depending on the opinion of the person, obviously, about me and my country. But like if they're fine, then they're fine, I don't care. But like a group, a whole thing, like the whole nation, I don't have a fucking problem with, obviously. So same with like the guy Shervin was like so like bewildered when he was talking with you, like, do you really think that all Iranians hate Israelis? And I'm like, duh. Like, what the fuck do you mean? And he was like actually arguing with you. Do you seriously think that Iranians hate? And I was like, well, obviously. And then he was like, well, I'm Iranian. I don't hate them. And you're like, bruh, just kill me. You American. You live in yeah. We're talking about people in Iran.
Sure.
Yeah. It's so weird. Anyway, Mr. Muden is our new king of debate, though.
Thank
by the
you,
way,
man.
For now,
I
he's on his
respect
way to
all
becoming the
women.
next snarker. Okay, don't worry.
absolutely
10 years
mobbed.
in.
Mog, as they say. Yeah, I don't know, Steven. He might be coming for your throne, so to speak.
That's good. So when one of these people assassinate me, I'll be ready to take over, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, valid strategy. You are the God Emperor, so you name the successor.
Yeah.
So there is
It's like
no.
the Sith.
There's
There's
no
two.
confusion. Exactly. Yeah, that's a really important thing. Yeah, for all the authoritarian movements, and all, you gotta have your successor already named.
Tactical, some might say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, the last thing I wanted to say yesterday before crowd appeared, and I forgot that. Also, that whole video you watched
That was awesome. Yeah.
cleansed my mind from every thought. So yeah. Anyway, point is that I really wanted to like thank you both, by the way, and for recently bringing shit up about Ukraine. It's like so cool to hear that people like actually demanding people to have a decent opinion on that. Like it's a recent development. And people are like, yeah, actually, it is sort of like a red line, or maybe, yeah, it is actually like support of Ukraine is something that is okay to demand of people, and that's like very cool. It's been never happened before, but like I enjoy hearing that.
Cool. Well, hopefully that'll be coming up more because I mean, like, I guess if our entire domestic policy program is going to be decided on our position on some foreign affairs, then if it's going to be Israel Palestine, why not also Ukraine Russia? Like that should be a pretty easy ad. But
That's kind of like how I started to see it, because I thought that it was stupid, like to expect people to vote about based off like international stuff. So I thought it was like a weird ask, not that I don't want them to, but I'm saying it's like weird to ask people to base their like voting based off geopolitical stuff. So I never, as a Ukrainian especially, I would definitely never, ask a person to do that, or like expect people in other countries to do that.
well, you got to channel your inner Israeli because they have absolutely no problem making the United States singularly define how we engage with the rest of the world based on their needs and desires. So
Oh, like, and I thought we were like, should be like humble like that, but apparently it gets us full, so maybe we shouldn't do that anymore. I don't know.
We have a saying in America in English. I don't know if you have an equivalent one in Polish, but it is the squeaky wheel.
Polish? Excuse me?
The Ukrainian is what I just said. You misheard me, I think. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. So that's how it goes. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. That's the thing that complains is the thing that ends up getting its concerns addressed. So.
Oh, yeah, we don't have any phrases like that whatsoever because it's super against our culture.
Complaining about stuff?
Yeah, you're supposed to shut the fuck up.
Oh, well.
Typically.
In America, our culture is the customer is always right, so we have the exact opposite.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Okay, maybe I should learn some things. Okay, people say I should. Leftists are saying we're trying to be Americans and like westernized. Maybe we should actually. Maybe we should take a little lesson and be like obnoxious as well. Like for example, pro-Palestine people, like because they make that a single issue, right? Like they tanked the goddamn Trump election thing because they were like Kamala, is a genocide or blah, that shit. And like, so why can't then we at least like not to like say don't vote for a person, right? If they are, but like at least ask a question. I think is completely fine. Like, what is your position on that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know what their position is in India. India say like no aid to Ukraine is their position. No. But yeah, it's just that the red glasses lady was funny. I saw a clip of her. She's like, I don't remember her name, but she's like from DSA, I think. The
DSA co-chair person.
Yeah, she has like red glasses. She was talking to giving an interview, and she was like, "I love that shit, dude. That's like always makes me mold." They're like, "Yeah, no aid to Ukraine, like, but," and he was like, "Okay, so what they're supposed to do then? Just give up and like."
The peacekeepers. Did you ever think about sending in the peacekeepers?
She's like, she didn't say peacekeepers even. She was like, we just say diplomats.
Oh, the diplomats too, yeah.
Yeah, and he was like, well, we already tried that. And she was like, not enough, more diplomats.
More. I mean, the big issue was the fact that, like, we had sent somebody over there to negotiate, Boris Johnson, and then you guys kicked him out because you wanted to keep genociding Russians. So, what more can you do, I guess?
Obviously, yeah. It all is Boris' fault.
Yeah.
And every time in my absolute next favorite was when he was like, well, are there any like socialist and like communist things that are working right now that you can point to that we should aspire to as Americans? And she's like, all of them were destroyed by the CIA. So I can.
What are you gonna do?
Like, sure, Queen. Yeah, it's just hilarious shit. But anyway, I hope you get the package and maybe it will repel the corners of the world or something. I don't know.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hopefully it gets here soon.
Yeah, you clearly need help though, I will say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Have fun, bye.
Mutin is our new king though, guys. We should...
I'm not king.
Okay, you are... how it's called? If not a king, you're a prince. That's it.
I'll take
you will be
king.
king. Yeah, you will be king if if corners of the world go extra unhinged.
Yeah.
Anyway, bye.
Have fun, bye.
Bye.
You better watch yourself, you little bitch.
Sorry, sir.
Somebody who is spreading this insane smear that would only just further, like, please him. It's what he wants. So, like, it's not fear. It's just like, well, this is the only, I think, or for me at least, given my interest in what I want, like, this is the only rational strategy. I think any person would just be like, this is insane. It's gotten too far. Like, things have gotten so out of hand. And
I'm sorry not to victim myself, but like, this is when things have gotten too far. Is somebody calling you anti-Semitic? Now it's too much. Not the years of insane smears that I've had to deal with from the lefty people wasn't Pisco even one of the people doxxed as part of that PV leak? Or maybe he wasn't. Maybe it was just
so.
Hutch and IRI. Like, Jesus.
Hutch, IRI, and Dylan.
Yeah, and Lonerbox, and I think and Connor, and I don't know if Sarpel was in the community yet, but it's just so crazy.
It's not about what has happened, right? There's a lot of things, bad things, horrible things that people can do that are forgiven. People can grow from their mistakes or even their really bad actions. For me, it's never been about what has happened. It's about what will happen. And I know what will happen if I do otherwise. Well, it'll just not be productive. I'm not going to convince everybody that I'm not like a grifter or a bad piece of shit.
I am happy and proud to have been part of the generation of like Twitch and YouTube creators who started in 2019 and haven't stopped. We obviously have like a lot of fallen soldiers along the way. So the fact that you, Josiah, have found your niches and all that kind of stuff, like I'm really happy and proud of, for you guys. But what I would say is my brain is still stuck in the 2019 to 2022 panel scene. It's what I became addicted to. It's what I loved. It's what I loved about the space. Unfortunately, I think I kind of went into my own little, it wasn't conscious, but just because panels aren't held at 9:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. EST. So that's not why I stopped showing up to the panel scene. It just wasn't a good schedule for me. But I'm looping myself. So let me know where you want to cut off. But what I'm sick of is I'm sick of the weight being thrown unilaterally.
Yeah, true. Apparently, the chorus conspiracies calling David Pacman a Pac-Man or Hutch's doxing weren't too far. Yeah, like none of the people on the left can ever go too far for these people. I guess this is just emblematic of my entire complaint, right? Which is also a good reason why it's probably better to kind of like tighten the ranks and then kind of like move some of these people a little bit further out so that there's no confusion about what's acceptable to certain groups of people, but not like it's probably good to have this stuff, I guess, clarified ahead of time.
Laterally, and I'm sick of the people who are the most ardent critics not being able to throw weight back. And I'll be specific. So I think you have the capacity to throw weight back. I think Josiah has the capacity to throw weight back. It just doesn't benefit you, so why give into it? But there are drama mongers like snarkers like J-Stock and Queeman who they have vociferously criticized Steven for the past 2 years.
Oh boy.
Well, J-Stock specifically had an opportunity. He was invited. Hey, come criticize me to my face with the worst shit that I've done. And he said no. And so I think as a result of that, that allowed a lot of Steven supporters to dismiss any criticism that anyone has ever had of Steven as, oh, no one has the balls to say it to his face. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want to do.
Like, I just don't understand the world. This is why I'm saying, like, in 20 years, there's got to be, like, we all sit in a room and we just like, what the fuck were you thinking back then? I feel like I hosted so much criticism myself from so many different content creators. Definitely more than any other content creator my size or even close to my size on the internet. And it's like, you'll never, ever, ever listen to people giving him negative feedback on anything. It's like, oh my God.
I do. Which is basically, if I want to cover Steven, I'm going to cover Steven. If I think he's being bad faith, I'm going to call him bad faith. If he has poor argumentation, I'm going to call poor argumentation. If his fucking dickhead swarms of flies want to come fly around my fucking face, that's totally fine. But what I'm not going to do anymore is I'm not going to hold back my criticisms.
So saying that I was raped as a kid and that my grandma was mass murdering dogs, that was him holding back. Like, Jesus Christ.
Out of some false hope that he's going to become a better person over time, nor am I going to hold this back in order to save the feelings of mutual audience members who want me to play nice. It's not... I'm done. I wanted to be helpful. I wanted to be nice.
So brave.
But I'm done with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but rest assured that's not what I'm doing. I'm not trying to placate any audience. You do you. I mean, I don't have an interest in the drama stuff. I banned it from my career, whether this is drama. I mean, like, I guess it kind of touches on it, and that's precisely what I don't have an interest in. I would rather focus on the issues. I'd rather focus on MAGA. I'd rather focus on politics and the law. That's what I care most about. And so, more power to you. I'm not going to, withhold my opinion on defending myself or on some of these issues, but I need to balance that with like what I'm interested in and what I think will have the best effect on me, my life, and the movement that I want to generate to free our country.
Then my only question, because I don't want to loop.
Yeah.
I said that I don't think you and I had a conversation about whether or not you were a socialist. And you said that...
Oh, that's his...
Sub sound or whatever, yeah.
Well, if we achieve such material wealth that we could decommodify basic human needs, then maybe that's something that would be just good.
It's also a funny thing, too, here, because remember how confusing it was when it was like, I feel like we should be kind of like critical of the far left people who just seem to be engaged in the most insane kind of like attacks, over and over and over again. And the response from Pisco was like, what does that mean? 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 I don't know. But then I'm like, I think Pisco is like anti-Semitic. It's like, well, I think that this person should never be covered in a favorable manner. I'm not going to mention this thing anymore. I think that we're going to focus on another thing over here. And, I'm not going to entertain this. And I think this person is actually acting in bad faith. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, so you do know what that means. Okay. So you have an understanding of what it means to view somebody adversarially in the space, even if they're ostensibly on the same side as you politically. That's, oh, okay. Gotcha.
Good for humanity in general. but you weren't interested in the workers owning the means of production or the prohibition of private ownership of companies. And
I think a
I
private property
joked,
right is a right I care about. I believe in rights, and I think that I think the private ownership, again with caveats. I mean, there's a lot of play on the joints for free speech or right to own property or right to due process, right? Like, I'm not saying that I know exactly what the metes and bounds are of the right to property that I care about, but I care about some notion of property ownership as a right.
So based
That's why,
on that
by the way,
answer,
pause. I also heard a kind of like, well, these guys are the best ops possible, and I'm like, well, would a communist op say that? Like, I think that there's a contradiction between some of these economic theories and like.
No, there is, and that's part of.
Would a controlled opposition ever have some light points of disagreement? Like,
Yes or no?
shut kill fire.
My frustration too. I thought he was saying it was a right wing op, so I'm happy that he corrected that it was a left wing op.
Yeah.
But
When have I ever accused any of these people of being a right wing? What? Okay.
the point that I'm saying is, so assuming that you and I have been internet friends for the past 6 years, assuming that you're telling the truth, assuming that I've never known you to hold back the truth out of some fear or cowardice or whatever.
Yeah, if I wanted to argue in favor of socialism, why wouldn't I? Wouldn't that be like the most fun debates to do the socialism debates and be like, I'm pretty sure I would gain like such a humongous audience from these lefties if I was like their warrior, their ironclad warrior. Yeah.
Yeah. So, right. So assuming that you're just telling me the truth, then at that point, I don't think you're a fucking. We disagree on a tactic. And you might be correct in your tactic, considering that 30% of the Democratic Party now identifies as Democratic Socialists. Let's be real. They're probably Scandinavians. They're probably Social Democrats. But considering that they still watch Hassan Piker and they ignore the tacit or tepid support for terrorism, they just hear that he wants universal health care, then maybe casting as big of a tent as possible is necessary for electoral victory, particularly on the eve of the midterms.
What does that mean? Electoral victory on the eve of the midterms? Like, we're in the primaries. We're not at the general yet. We this is supposed to be like they're crafting rules for why we can't advocate for our side in the primary. Like, this is literally what the primaries are for. Like, how could you possibly infight in the primary? What do you think a primary is? I just don't understand how this is said over and over again, and none of these guys stop and think like, well, hold on, wait a second. Actually, are we being retarded right now? Like,
I don't think that's a crazy position. It sucks. I hate leftists, but I don't think it's the most insane electoral analysis I've ever heard in my entire life, and I don't think it means that you hate Jews.
Analysis.
Yeah, man. Like, I just think that my position.
Anybody else analyzing?
Is the majority Democratic position. This position of like, hey, let's all hold hands, kumbaya, and attack the threat. I just feel like that is now. I caveat that with like, of course, I'm not going to hold back criticism of things I think deserve criticism from lefties or liberals, right? I didn't hold back against Biden when I thought he was doing something impeachable. I didn't hold it back against Biden when I criticized him closing the border illegally, in my view. So I'm just going to like, I care about saying what I feel, what I think, and
good one.
Like running utility calculator
king shit.
Every time I'm processing an opinion. I'm just saying what I think, and I want an audience that like
classic mistake.
Can just trust that they're going to get an independent and original thought from me, even if they disagree with it, and that will give some more substance perhaps to it. And I've even seen that, by the way, not just among lefties, but also liberals and like sometimes conservatives. Even this is what I see. Pisco agrees that this free speech, violation exists of the woman who said the N-word at the child. Right? They'll say that. Even Pisco acknowledges that the liberals are wrong about this regarding whatever discourse. Even Pisco agrees that Crystal Ball went too far here. And when I see that, I smile, because all these different people have these impressions of me, and they're weighting it.
Yeah, I just think you're progressive.
Yeah,
you're more progressive than okay. If you were a straight liberal, then I would basically put you in the same political camp as Destiny. But I think you have a few more lefty sympathies, or at least you're willing to tolerate more lefty shit. What? And so as a result, I think of you as a progressive.
Can we just pause real quick? Like, I tolerate I tolerate MAGA. Like, people were so weirded out that like I had so much tolerance for Rob Noor, right? And then I had
Oh, that's really funny, actually, for Pisco to bring that up as an example. Pisco doesn't have high tolerances for MAGA. That's not true. He does have high tolerances for people he's had personal relationships with. Rob Noor is one of them.
So much tolerance for...
Well, that's just good content.
Yeah, and like the collabs that we do. And it's just because there's a certain kind of conversation that I like, and that like excites me, and that's fun. Frankly, that's one of the reasons why, when I used to come on Steven's stream, it was always a lot of fun, because we would like yell at each other, and we would like really focus in on the disagreement, and it's exciting for me. And so it's not a selection because of like in-group, out-group. I select for the conversations that are fun for me and that I enjoy having.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I tolerate leftism. Like
I need
sunsets in
to
that-
address a couple of things in chat that you might, my chat, that you might want to address as well. So, Fashion 40 says, Connor, how'd that work out for the Republican Party? MAGA HL alive. By the way, Fashion 40, I hope you can hear me when I say this. I agree with Steven and Mooten and Wick, even though we've had personal beef, that I, myself, would never vote for a leftist. I will never be able to check a box for a democratic socialist. And so if they're trying to strangle this movement in the crib, I agree with them. However, separate from that, prescriptive versus descriptive. We like this. I have the prescription that you shouldn't vote for leftists. I have the description that the economics in America are so right now.
Oh my God, I love
that
that
economic populism is wildly popular with the base. And as a result, we are just going to have to contend with 30% of the Democratic Party being self-labeled democratic socialists. More likely they're actually social democrats. So descriptive versus prescriptive. I'm prescriptively with Steven. I'm descriptively with Pisco.
for teaching him
and I
this.
think that
It was a mistake ever introducing these words.
Pisco is being vilified. One more thing, because I posted this myself. An anti-Semite is a person who holds hostile prejudice or discriminatory views against Jewish people. And somebody said, oh, I watched the VOD yesterday, and Steven said a half dozen times that he doesn't think Pisco hates Jews. Okay, then he doesn't believe that
Yeah, but that's
Pisco
not
is an
people here.
anti-Semite.
Keck.
That's not what people
And
hear.
and if
And let's be honest.
no, that's not only is
Yeah.
that not what they hear, but if I had to assign some level of
Wait, that's not what people hear? Does he assume that my audience you know what? And I'll even grant him this because I am intellectually honest. I'm sure there is probably too high of a percentage of people. Am I being too charitable? That hear me say when I say that Pisco is anti-Semitic, that I'm actually just saying that Pisco like fucking interpersonally hates Jews. Now I don't know if I'm being too charitable because I feel like I've clarified a billion times. Like, what do I mean when I'm saying anti-Semitism? And then all of my explanations are, about this or any form of bigotry is that you don't have to have an interpersonal hatred for somebody to be bigoted towards them. Men didn't have to have an interpersonal hatred towards women to be misogynistic or patriarchal, or an interpersonal hatred towards Muslims to be Islamophobic, or an interpersonal like. Is Pisco implying that there's like a dog whistle going on here? The thing is, I don't dog whistle to my audience because I'm not a fucking spineless cuck pussy who's too afraid to even say somebody's name or to clarify a position, whereas these guys are so petrified of ever touching anything to the left of them. They won't say anything about it. So I feel like my position is pretty clear on this.
mouse to Steven, I think he's using anti-Semite as an invective in order to get people to hate Pisco, but then he backs up to a systemic or functional definition so he can have that argumentation. But that argumentation is
This is and maybe this is politics, and this is why I should just go to school or write on Substack. I don't know. It's like, it is so boring that every single argument is like, I think he's lying about his motivations for everything in his arguments. I think all of those are lies, so I'm not going to address any of them, and I'm just going to psychoanalyze. I actually am just going to do my psychoanalysis here, and I'm pretty sure this explains everything, and I'm just going to psychoanalyze everything, and that's actually the way to understand what's going on is the psychoanalysis. And it's like, oh my God, bro. It's so boring.
dog shit. It sucks. It's bad argumentation.
And it's easily reversible. Not to get into that, but not that.
Oh, I think it's that's one of the
Let's
things
not,
that actually pissed off my chat yesterday was somebody easily reversed it into his
don't need to get
relationship
into it,
with Fuentes and Myron Gaines.
Yeah, but let's.
Except that's not true because everybody knows where I stand with those people. Like, it's so funny. Oh my God. Mooten, you missed the most insane moment of all time. Not really. In the last 2 years. And it was when it was the first time Pisco had a debate with me in a long time. And it's so funny because this exact argument came up where Pisco was like, well, what about the way that you would engage with Myron and Fuentes? I don't know if he brought up Fuentes, but I know he said Myron. And I think he either asked a question or I asked a question. I was like, when people watch me, do you think that people think that I agree with Myron on anything, like culturally or socially, or Fuentes with anything culturally or socially? What about when they look at you and then think of Hassan? And he asked to rephrase, he fucked up because he realized that like the answer was obviously true, that it would have gone way harder the other way. Somebody linked me the moment because I don't remember the exact quote, but it's funny because this exact moment came up in that debate and he knew he fucked up. He knew how wrong he was on this.
Nice in his tone with Myron Gaines. He is.
You're a fucking valley girl.
This is like the 2017 centrist all over again. It's the same thing. The classical liberals.
Okay. You did disagree with them, but your tone. It sounded like you were nice in your tone.
Yeah, it sounds like you're. It sounds like you're the useful cock sleeve for socialists. That's what it sounds like.
Like Steven isn't nice in his tone with Myron Gaines. He is. He absolutely is.
Yeah, and he still has contention, and he still clarifies the ideology.
Yeah, we had contention.
I still have a point from 40 minutes ago that I wanted to.
And it's funny that Connor knew the exact argument here, and now he's saying that none of that argument applies anymore. What the f? Connor's giving the exact argument right here, and now he just repeated the dumb version of it to fucking Pisco. How do these people's brains get so fried? I don't understand.
I've had my hand up for 40 minutes.
Counter you.
Can I? Yeah, thank you. Okay, anyways. My turn. Thank you. Thank you for coming to the Pisco Destiny show. All right, so earlier.
Wait, this wasn't the right timestamp. Thank you, Illuminator, for 500 subs. With you.
Do you agree? Did you agree that you had a nice tone with Myron Gaines?
Nobody will come out of that.
No?
It is a combative tone. Nobody will come out of that conversation. Tone is more than just your actual timbre of voice. Hold on. How many people would come out of that conversation thinking, "Wow, Destiny and Myron seem to agree on quite a bit"?
And how many people would come out of my conversation think,
careful! You got yourself because you knew how much you knew how foolish you were. Oh my God! Heat in 8K, 120 FPS, fucking 120. Like he knows this is true. He knows this is true. He knows it's true. 20 frame rate, 240 refresh rate on monitor, broadcasting live, all over the world exposed. I'll play a little more because he doesn't give a good answer. I'm just showing not like cutting
I'm not backing off any position. So I'm saying if you watch the actual stream and listen to the words being said, then no one would come away from that thinking that we didn't come down. If they watch the Destiny stream, where you're smearing us, or you're smearing us as socialists.
Wait. Question. Okay, wait. Question. If you look at the chats.
So if you watch the Destiny stream where he's,
it's just like it's so. I can't believe that Connor gives the exact opposite.
It's easily reversible. Not to get into that, but not that.
Oh, I think it's that's one of the things that actually pissed off my chat yesterday was somebody easily reversed it into his relationship with Fuentes and Myron Gaines.
Yeah, but let's. This is the kind of thing, right? Like
functional anti-Semite.
This is
and it's funny too, actually, because you guys gave me the wrong timestamp, but the wrong timestamp shows Connor clearly demonstrating the difference between Destiny makes his position known, but Pisco is a cocksleeve for, he said, that was his words, not mine, is a cocksleeve for socialists. So Connor knew 100% like the difference.
Sort of the meta point I'm making is like, when you raise that, it's just like, oh, but like, what about this and this? And then it just opens the can of worms. It's like, I would rather just be like, okay, what's your definition of anti-Semite? Let's build off of that. Let's talk like, so okay, this, and not get into that shit because it just opens this like world of drama. I mean, like, I just want to disassociate with.
It's just
people.
drama.
It's not, by the way,
it's drama
premised on ideology, right? Like who I choose to spend time with or interact with isn't a fully ideological thing. There are other factors, such as whether people lie about me. Other factors about, you know, whether people.
Who would disagree with that? Who are you even arguing with right now? Yeah.
I can trust them. These are all things that like bear on what I'm willing to do vis-a-vis interactions. And so you shouldn't expect for it to just be like whoever's a better person. And I gotta tell you, Josiah is like a really good guy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I just think that he has been focused. He's so hardworking for one end and one end only, and that is for the betterment of his country. I guess also, you know, to grow his channel, do this for a living. 100%.
This is one of the things that bothers me the most. I agree. I feel like most of these people interpersonally are good people, but I guess they just don't have the. This sounds so. This is a narcissistic statement, but like they don't have the moral character to do the right thing when there's like a community or a crowd standing against them. That's the frustrating part, and it's not enough. I mean, I would argue, I guess, if you want to do like political related stuff, it's not enough to just be a nice person interpersonally. Like sometimes you might have to take, I guess, an uncomfortable stand because you see the winds are blowing in a direction that you don't want them to blow in, or you see the tides are changing in a way that you don't want them to change. And it's insane to me that I don't know. I never even made a big ask of any of these people. I don't think I even got to the point of making an ask of any of these people because they're like, what do you have to do? What do you have to do? And I'm pretty sure I said like a trillion times. I think Mr. Putin and I think Conduit also the same thing. It's like, just like cover them like you would cover Bill Maher when he says something crazy, you know?
True. 100%. And if anyone denies that, they're lying. But he definitely works to help other people achieve that end. And he's someone that I think doesn't deserve the kind of invective that's being used against him. I think it's shocking. I think it's like truly shocking.
Okay, and I think that's part of the reason why I'm so pissed, because I think that if I am doing a Machiavellian calculus, I'd be like, Steven got fired. He knew that there wasn't a bridge between him and Josiah. He knew that there wasn't really a bridge between him and you. And so as a result, he's burning non-existent bridges for the sake of entertainment because he's bored.
Like, why? Why would I do any of it? Josiah blocked me first. Like, Pisco, I just found out apparently, is the one who has me blocked on X. Like, but I guess I'm burning first because I make the anti-Semitism, I guess, accusation. That's me burning the bridge because I'm bored. I have nothing else going on in my life, I guess. Like, I didn't expect this to turn into a drama. I thought they were on our side of this argument from the start. Well, that's the frustrating thing, too, about all of this is that they've turned it into a drama, right? We could engage on the substance of the points, but they're literally either unwilling or unable to. So now it is like a drama. Now this is like an interpersonal drama. I don't even know why it has to be. You're just like, I think Steven's definition of anti-Semitism is retarded, that there are too many people that draw too little a distinction between being anti-Israel and anti-Zionist and anti-Semitic, and these are my bona fides on this issue, and that's why I think that what he says is it's a retarded claim to make about me, and I think that his statement is too broad and leaves basically everybody open forms of bigotry, or instead of saying anti-Semitic, he should have said like structural, like blah, blah, blah. Like there's a million ways he theoretically could have, fought against whatever point I made if he felt like it was incorrect, but it's not. It's, I think that interpersonally, he's narcissistically vying for my attention, and I don't want that kind of drama. And it's like, okay, Hassan. It's cringe.
He got bored. He knew that there wasn't a bridge between him and Josiah. He knew that there wasn't really a bridge between him and you. And so as a result, he's burning non-existent bridges for the sake of entertainment because he's bored. He's bored. He wants somebody to fight. And
have any of them tried to reach out for a convo, even on a mutual platform? No, none of these people will ever convo me or talk about me. Or talk to me. They will talk about me. And they'll talk to people around me. The closest form of communication would be when Josiah would just come into my chat to get me to watch his videos. I'm such a sucker, dude. Me. I don't know, man.
And so negative attention is better. So guess what? He got my attention. He said some wild shit. He improperly used the definitions of words. He maligned good people. He got my attention. So good for him. He created the content.
Well, there you go. That's
thanks, Steven.
Yes, true. Connor, famous Destiny ignorer. World renowned for his ignoring Destiny.
For that.
But you see how you're feeding into it a bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't care though. This is Twitch and YouTube politics. What we're arguing about at the end of the day is we are, in my opinion, we are synthesizing education and entertainment and political commentary into a single product that people are consuming on it.
Do you think that there is some sort of benefit for them to stab you in the back like this, or is it literally just hurt ego? My top line overriding explanation for this type of community stuff is the that I describe our like our community as I think it's a high entropy before. I should say low entropy. This is like it's a high friction. I think if I say low entropy, I don't know if that makes sense to most people. There's a lot that it takes to stay in the lib left movement right now because you're being assailed from all sides. And if you want to say it and you want to drop out into these other types of communities are much easier to be a part of, and they will welcome you with open arms. So to like remain like a center left lib right now, like you have to be of the mindset that like maybe just taxing the billionaires is not the solution to everything. Maybe pulling all of our funding and cutting completely our relationship with Israel is not like the right approach to politics. That maybe abolishing every single department that we don't like the Department of Defense and ICE and everything, maybe just abolishing everything isn't actually the way to go. Maybe the FC Files doesn't show that every single high-level politician is like a serial rapist, child molester. Maybe like it's just like a lot of things that are, there's just, it's a lot of, I don't want to say nuance because that sounds like self-sucking, but there's just like a lot of like complicated positions you have to hold. But if you say it and you're like, this is this shit, dude, and then you want to drop out into another one of these spaces, like the lefty slopulous spaces, oh my God, everything in the world makes sense now. Every billionaire is evil. All of them are controlling everything, and Israel. My homes are expensive because of BlackRock, big corporations. My healthcare is expensive because of big pharma. That's why the UNH guy had to get Luigi'd, I guess. I can see that MAGA and all these people are existential evil threats. All politicians are the exact same. That's why we need like Bernie Sanders and the DSA because they're much better and pure people. And like everything is just so simple and easy. A billionaire tax will fix our problems. All of the affordability issues will go away if Israel just stops buying our homes. Like everything just becomes so simple. They're like much easier places to be in. So the second somebody like, if you slip out, and it takes a lot to like keep somebody in, like I feel like this moderate left, probably the Never Trumpers probably have similar issues, but I don't engage with a lot of them. There's just like a lot of like stuff to stay in that lib left position. But as soon as you fall into the other side, like all of the myths, all of the grand narratives, all the stories, including interpersonal ones, or personal ones, I guess you could just say, like stories about the evil, lib left people. It's just so easy. Yeah.
On a daily basis, but ultimately we do so in the service of political ideologies. So you do it in the name of some hybrid of progressivism and liberalism. Stephen does it in a more, I think, center-left.
Everything I just said about the like the slopulist far lefty shit applies tenfold to the MAGA shit too. That it's so easy once you realize it's the deep state is responsible for all of your fucking problems, and it's all evil Dems and Marxists and colleges and everything else and women and everything, and yeah.
Left liberalism. I do it in a center-right, in the name of a center-right neoconservative tribalism, which is not popular, by the way, but I still believe in it anyways. And so that's what we're doing. So Stephen or his audience baiting a conversation about your anti-Semitism and having dog shit argumentation, and then me talking about it. Yeah, sure. They quote unquote manipulated me into calling them idiots. Like, congratulations.
Okay.
Do you feel better?
No,
like, I'm not trying to be nasty.
No, I still got more content to do before I feel better.
Okay, well, listen, I don't take any umbrage with you going hard or anything. I'm not trying to be like police you or do anything like that. And I also don't try to like police other people and content creators and like be weaselly behind the scenes to force people to comply with my standards of interactions. I would never presume to do that, right? Like, people are adults. I assume that they are going to make their own choices, and I don't control them, right? And
like, this is such a weak ass, spineless cuck position of like, I don't want to control what anybody does for their like. What are you even talking about? Like, nobody is saying that like you're not allowed to talk to this guy because he's a meanie. It's just like, what is your political coalition? Like, that's a super normal, reasonable thing. Like, if you were constantly all day platforming like neo-Nazis or Trump worshippers on your stream, and you were just like palling around with them, and not palling around with them like playing games or whatever, but like just having them give their political takes, and you weren't really challenging, you weren't agreeing with them, and you would kind of like just like, tacitly endorsing them or maybe agreeing with them or whatever. Like, at some point, people are like, are you a liberal, or like, are you part of this political coalition, or are you like on the other team? Like, it's so weird. This like concept of gatekeeping ended up being such a negatively charged thing, but it's like, you have to have an identity for the group that you're a part of. It can't literally be like, not to sound like a bully, but it can't just be that every single person who wants to be in your group is in your group, because now you no longer have a group identity. It's generally they're built around some kind of like political ideology. Like, that's not that crazy of a concept.
I've never presumed to do that either. I think it's really sad, like when Trump got elected, that was like one of the worst days ever. Like, just being real, it was like the bit of hope that I had was like, this is going to give a newfound purpose of togetherness, of motion, of...
You talking about 24 or 16?
24, yeah. And it's been really sad, it's been a really tough situation, but sometimes like...
Wonder why? Who made it that way? Just nothing to be said for any of it. It's such bitch man behavior, dude.
Lines have to be drawn. And I don't know. You got to do what's right for you, Connor. I hope you don't begrudge how I choose to approach it.
I don't. I think it's smarter. But literally, it's so if you have your niche and your niche is successful and you can continue to do content the way that you want to do it, that's fine. I'm in a different position where I'm effectively doing like 3 or 4 YouTube channels at once, and I'm reliant on all of them in order to make ends. So when it comes to my I really should have focused on one channel, but it is what it is. So in reference to politics, though, I feel like I have cornered myself as the liberal center-right heel, I guess. So like, if liberals want to debate a rightoid who isn't totally schizophrenic, then I'm the guy to call, right? But by pigeonholing myself in that space, I've limited my growth. Now, that being said, it's not all a growth calculation. It's also a what is right calculation. And so,
wow, so
I feel like over the past 2 months, I was hoping that my more honorable behavior would retain some people that I cared about within my community. I have not retained those people regardless. As a result, I'm just, f it. I'm just going to throw elbows the way I feel like. And to be honest, I never changed from 2019 to 2022. I still miss the panel scene. I wish the hippy dippy was still a thing. I wish that Dylan Burns was calling you, me, Steven, Voss, Shu, iCow Rich, Tiberius de Boisseret, I'm trying to think of some other fallen Hans of Harkir, Demon
Catherine
Mama.
Dominates.
I still wish we were screaming at each other on a weekly basis. Unfortunately, those days are gone.
All of those days are gone, by the way, because of the lefties, because all of them refused to participate in any of that scene, by the way. The reason why it died is because I got banned from Twitch, and there was not a single other large content creator that was willing to do what I did, by the way. But, don't ever mention any of that.
So,
That's the
but
thing
I haven't
about the
changed
good
the
old
mentality
days.
of you throw elbows, I'm gonna throw elbows back.
I'm not judging you. I just
Yeah.
And no, listen, I went to that panel scene because I was like bored during COVID. You know, finishing up law school, and it was actually I saw Lecture Fans. You know Lecture Fan? You know Lecture Fan.
Lecture fan. That's an OG
And
name.
I like desperately wanted to talk to him because he was saying some shit I hated, and I was just like chirping him in the chat. I mean, I was a chatter guy. I used to be a chatter just like you till I took an arrow to the knee. But then, and I'll never forget it. Right, like Prime Kai was streaming, and he had an open panel policy, and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. That all of these political conversations that I used to have when I was bartending, when I was at law school physically, when I was, you know, at university, that like kind of stopped, that I could have them again, and that I could do it and like use some of the knowledge that I was learning in law school, and meet new people, and it was just the coolest thing in the world for me. And so yeah, I think about that a lot, and I thought it was so much fun.
I have a Frenchman who wants me to try to steelman Steven and then have you address the steelman. So, if I was to steelman Steven's argumentation, because of your big tent calculation of including lefties and leftists, being friendly with them, including them in the Overton window, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And specifically, I think the criticism is in reference to Kyle Kalinske and Crystal Ball. Kyle, I think, by the way.
Chirping is an interesting term for Pisco to use. Oh, no. The real interesting term was when we had our first like huge fight after I kind of came back, and it was him calling Dan and others white blood cells. And then saying that I sounded like a sped, which the only person in the space I've ever heard use that term regularly is Queeman. Those were the what the f moments.
By the way, I'm not trying to malign Kyle at all, but I've heard this before. Will say things like, oh, the reason why we're in war with Iran is because Jeffrey Epstein had sexual blackmail on Donald Trump, and the Adelsons and the whoever else gave Trump's campaign $250 million. And so between the blackmail of Bibi Netanyahu and the campaign donations from Zionists, the reason why we're blowing up brown kids overseas is because of the Zionists, right?
Yeah.
Now, a lot of Jewish folk will hear that and they'll say, okay, that's not evidentiarily substantiated. There's a lot of other explanatory values. So all you're doing is you're increasing hostility to Jews. Therefore, specifically, I'm not saying this, they're saying this, Kyle Kalinske is an anti-Semite for spreading anti-Jewish conspiracy theories, and you are complicit because you sanitize his public reputation through your own public reputation. So can you contend with that criticism?
So let me take in 2 points. The first is about the substance. The second is about the kind of like my role in it. So the first on
Let me read
the lot
here
here is because of the Zionists, $250 million. And so between the blackmail of Bibi Netanyahu and the campaign donations from Zionists, the reason why we're blowing up brown kids overseas is because of the Zionists, right?
Yeah.
Now, a lot of
I think this is an okay summary of my argument, kind of, sure.
Jewish
Yeah,
folk
maybe.
will hear that and they'll say, okay, that's not evidentiarily substantiated. There's a lot of other explanatory values. So all you're doing is you're increasing hostility to Jews. Therefore, specifically, I'm not saying this, they're saying this, Kyle Kalinske is an anti-Semite for spreading anti-Jewish conspiracy theories.
Well, and it maps on completely and directly to the Jews control the world arguments as well, but whatever. Okay.
And you are complicit because you sanitize his public reputation through your own public reputation. So can you contend with that criticism?
So let me take in 2 points. The first is about the substance. The second is about the kind of like my role in it. So the first on the substance is like, that's not what's explaining anything that's going on here. We never get to the point of evidentiary like contention.
What? We brought up the substance of the arguments before for Kyle, and then we brought up the way that I feel like Pisco and other people launder their reputations. I feel like we've explicitly and literally brought up that substance before. I don't know if he's going to refer to something different, but okay.
All of these conversations have been stuck in defining anti-Semitism. I challenge
Oh my God, the Andrew Wilson memes.
everyone to watch the conversations I've had, and none of them has it been that we've like taken a definition, agreed on it, and then like applied it to these actions. So it's a bit much for me to hear this like, you're denying that these people are anti-Semitic. We haven't even like, to put it in perspective, we haven't like agreed on a model of anti-Semitism. That's where it gets hung up on, because I take a definition that like I read in a dictionary. It's not proprietary. I take, or I go to Wikipedia and I just read it. It's like, yeah, bias, prejudice, hatred of Jews, right? Like, it just seems like common usage.
Oh.
And then we
So do you think Kyle is personally hateful of Jews?
I'm not convinced of that. What that means is I'm not saying that I couldn't be convinced of it. I'm just telling you I'm not convinced that he's anti-Semitic. So I haven't, but I could be, right? Like, but before we even get to that, right? We need to agree on a model to work with. And that's where all these conversations have taken place. That's why it's so bad faith to hear me say something like, of course I would presume that anyone who denies the Holocaust is anti-Semitic, and that would be enough for me to like consider them as such. But it's just not what the term means. And for someone to take that and be like, oh, he's using that to defend Kyle. No, we need to agree on what we're talking about first. And so people jump the gun. And so to respond to that, it's like, that's not what any of these conversations have been about. The conversations haven't gotten there. The conversations have been stuck in the mud about what this thing is. And I'm not going to sign off to a model of anti-Semitism, which is just results-based, because it leads to insane bullet bites.
Okay. Sorry, my Frenchman is not sufficiently satisfied. So I'll say it with fewer words in his exact phrasing, and then you can have an identical response. Okay. Jacques Orcac says, Mon Dieu, the Steelman is that Pisco gives quarter to anti-Semitic actors and doesn't take 3 minutes to say. So how do you respond to the French charge that you give quarter to anti-Semitic actors, which, by the way, I don't think is explanatory enough, but whatever.
Yeah, so like I was getting there. That second part is like you give cover, right? Like I would want to first deal with the claim that they are anti-Semitic first. And so I'm not going to agree that I give cover to anti-Semites, even if unless I believe that they are anti-Semitic. And so we don't get to that part either, because we haven't agreed on the base thing first. But even just putting it, I'm just going to be honest with you, and maybe this will make me, this will be like an insane bullet. I don't know why. But interacting with people, even if I were to grant that some of these people had some anti-Semitic views, interacting with them doesn't necessarily make one anti-Semitic, right? And so the charges just need to be based on, or the
why do we? I don't understand sometimes why people. I don't know if it's a self-soothe. Like why people will just like say a thing that's like so obviously true that obviously I would. One of the obviously I would agree with it. One of the things I've enjoyed doing in debates more, and I've done this more recently, is I'll just ask somebody like, "What do you think I would say to that?" And they always know the answer, right? Does simply interacting with somebody who's anti-Semitic make you anti-Semitic? Like, what do you really think I would say yes to that? Like, it's such a stupid. What do you really?
The accusations, some notion of anti-Semitism that we agree to. And before I can engage on whether I'm providing cover for someone or whether providing cover for someone necessarily means you're anti-Semitic, we need to scope out what these things mean. And that's what I'm trying to do, is bring clarity on that conversation.
You and I can jump ahead though. Okay. You and I can, we can jump ahead past this argumentation. And Jacques Orcac says, excellent accent, très bien. Merci, mon vieux. Anyways, I do speak French, by the way, Jacques Orcac.
Yeah, and just can I just pause real quick? We were just watching Jon Stewart talk with Crystal Ball and Sagar. And Jon Stewart started by saying, you guys are the most good faith. You guys are best faith, he said.
Oh,
he said, how do you
Did
deal
he really?
with bad faith actors? Total softball in that regard, and basically giving legitimacy over to Crystal and Sagar. Would you ever think that this would be applied to them consistently? That these people would say, like, bite the bullets? That yes, not that Jon Stewart is giving cover to anti-Semites, but that he himself is anti-Semitic? Or Bernie is when he defends us on? Or AOC is when he defends us on?
Yes? Does he think I wouldn't? Like, what? Who does he think he... this is also another weird thing that happens with people where they pretend like they don't know who I am anymore, or they have no idea like what my history of anything is. And they're like, do you really think Destiny would be willing to criticize like Bernie Sanders? Or would be willing to criticize Jon Stewart? And it's like, what do you think? Really? That's really what you're asking?
Like this is where I feel like the conversation, instead of linearizing, I feel like the conversation is best served by me jumping ahead and you correcting anything that you think I'm wrong on.
Oh my God.
Okay. So the argument, as I understand it, is that 80 to 85% of Jewish people, both in the diaspora and within Israel itself, half of the Jewish population lives in the United States, half the population lives in Israel. And then there's like a few million spread out across the globe, but it's very small numbers. So within the diaspora, but also within the Israeli population, 85% of the population agrees that there should be a Jewish dominant state in the Eastern Mediterranean. Okay. I think that is more properly defined as Zionism than as Judaism. But because 85% of Jews identify with the sentiment, if you say the Jewish state in the Eastern Mediterranean shouldn't exist, and anybody who supports that notion is akin to a Nazi, then you're effectively saying that 85% of Jews should be dispossessed from political life and or hunted down and killed. And that functionally is anti-Semitic, or systemically, functionally, whatever you want to call it.
What does that mean?
Vociferous criticism of Zionists apply.
Let's say that I gave the opinion, I don't think that there should be a single Islamic state on the planet. Every single Islamic theocratic state, all of those Islamic states should either be forced to be moved to secular secular authoritarians or democratic states, none of them. How many people would call me Islamophobic? Like, it would just instantaneously, it's like, you're Islamophobic, you're Islamophobic, you're Islamophobic, like instantly. And that's literally baked into the religion itself. The idea that there's going to be like a state for Muslims or whatever, that the apparatus of the state and the religion work hand in hand.
Applies to 85% of Jews. Therefore, you're an anti-Semite, according to the people who follow that argumentation.
It just depends on what you mean by anti-Semite. If what you mean by anti-Semite is you're doing a thing that's harmful to Jews.
They mean that they are interpersonally bigoted towards Jews, but then the function...
Nobody means this. Jews don't mean it. Hitler didn't mean it. Nobody has ever meant anti-Semitism is when you're interpersonally mean towards Jewish people. Nobody has ever meant this. Nobody's ever said this before. Nobody even means it when it comes to racism or misogyny. Racism is when you're interpersonally mean towards a group of people. It's just like...
and systemic shit gets added onto that. That's why I think delineating the term anti-Zionist and anti-Jew is actually useful.
No, I'm trying to do that, right? Like, when you say the functional of it, functional towards what goal? Functional towards harming Jews?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like something that...
But then we get into the conduit argument, and I think the conversation is best served by delineating anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism.
No, it's impossible to avoid, because in order to know whether the statement is true, one needs to know what we're talking about. And if what we're talking about is something that negatively affects a community, so in other words, it furthers the end of negatively affecting a particular community without inherent discrimination or bias, then I'm sorry, that's just going to force you to bite insane bullets that aren't reasonable in light of how people use the words. It might force you to bite the bullet that Netanyahu is himself anti-Semitic. It might force you to bite the bullet that criticizing Obama that argumentation.
This is part of the reason why I don't believe that.
I like how Pisco says it might make you bite insane bullets when I'm pretty sure I've heard this argument from almost every single lefty, that actually it's the state of Israel that is anti-Semitic because the way that the state of Israel conducts itself is actually the thing that's causing an increase of anti-Semitism around the world. That if anti-Semitism was the thing you cared about, Israel would be the first thing you would get rid of because Israel is the reason why people are anti-Semitic. I've heard this argument given verbatim by, I know at least Wash. I'm pretty sure I've heard Hassan say this. I'm sure that Kyle and Crystal probably said. I'm sure they said on the majority report. Probably every single lefty on the planet probably has given the positive version of this argument. And people's like, that would be an insane bullet to bite. It's like, okay.
Anti-Semitic. It might force you to bite the bullet that
criticizing
Obama
that argumentation.
Racist.
This is part of the reason why I don't believe that you're an anti-Semite and that...
Do you think that there were people that criticized Obama that were racist and did it because of racism? And do you think that all people that did it because of racism were just interpersonally mean towards blacks? Like, I'm not saying that you can't criticize Israel. This is also like the brain dead, like, oh, so we can't, like...
You wake up every single day and you go, the Jews, you know? And, by the way, Hassan Piker, despite the fact that I think that he has a deleterious effect upon the nation state of Israel and also uses hyperbole to criticize 85% of the Jewish population, I still wouldn't label him anti-Semite because 15% of Jews don't believe in the nation state of Israel in the Eastern Mediterranean, and he probably has no beef with those people.
Like, there's just like, it's just like such a, I don't know if you say reductive definition at this point, but like if this is how we're defining things, then I mean like, I'm sorry, I've said this a billion times. It completely and totally misunderstands what essentially all forms of bigotry are, and it reduces it to like this comedic understanding of it's just like when you don't like people and you're hateful, like interpersonally hateful, and it's so dumb.
Connor, but even if 100% of Jews had a particular position, by the way, side note, I think it's a little bit...
He's about to make Alito's argument for why racial gerrymandering is okay, by the way, but go ahead.
Of Jews had a particular position.
And of Jews don't believe in the nation state of Israel in the Eastern Mediterranean, and he probably has no beef with those people.
Connor, but even if 100% of Jews had a particular position, by the way, side note, I think it's a little bit racist itself to ascribe these beliefs as intrinsic, but fine. Let's just say that 100% thought it, right?
It's racist, by the way. Oh, you're assuming that Jews want their own country? Wow, you're the real racist. Like, okay, Candace, Jesus Christ.
I gave you the example before. If 100% of black people supported Obama, you wouldn't say it's racist to criticize Obama. So it can't be just the consequences, and it can't be just the fact that a group of people has a given belief. And we can't get around it, right? In order to assess something as true or false, we need to know what the metric is. And everyone tries to get around it by just coming up with hypotheticals and asking my disposition on them, or trying to like, don't you think it's bad for this? Don't you think that they should be giving more caveats, et cetera, et cetera? But like all of that is tangential. There is a fundamental flaw in the conversation at time equals zero, which is I need to know what the hell you're talking about, because it doesn't sound like you're talking about the ordinary usage of the term anti-Semitic or the term racist. And until we do that, I cannot give you a position on whether I think it's one thing or the other. It's just impossible.
Right. So, but I don't know where we disagree. So that's where I don't think me
Who could disagree with that?
re-articulating this is going to further
just be
serve the
honest,
conversation.
for anyone who disagree, who could disagree with that? Who could disagree that we need to know what it is
People
we're
who want to
invoking?
paint any vociferous critics of the nation-state of Israel as rabid anti-Semites, and then
Oh, true. Yes. How did he discover my sneaky plan? I just wanted to silence all criticism of Israel. You got it, buddy. King, you got me.
also, even if you have beefs with Hassan Piker, which I do, he is a shitty person for 10,000 reasons besides anti-Semitism. But it's basically to affiliate you with Hassan Piker so you can be simultaneously reviled within the online political space. And Kyle Kalinske. To paint them all as anti-Semites is to say, these are bad people worthy of your derision. That's the function.
Man, they have a really big response, and I guess to some extent it's intentional with the way that a lot of these far left spaces have kind of oriented themselves. They have a really big negative response to the anti-Semitic thing. That has to be a thing that you can't even stop to consider impacts this group of people. The obsession with Israel is such a defining characteristic of whatever this political thing is. Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's the case, but when I hear, I assume people, when they're talking, maybe I shouldn't assume this, are operating in good faith. And so when they ask,
I love the way that he talks. I just assume that people are trying to be honest actors, and then I realize that they're all liars.
me a question, I want to answer it, and I know what they mean. And someone says, you use hypotheticals, you're the king of hypotheticals. The problem isn't with the usage of hypotheticals. We love hypotheticals. The question is, what are the hypotheticals meant to illustrate? And people want to get into hypotheticals about whether something is anti-Semitic before they define anti-Semitism. And so in all these conversations, why aren't the people challenging me providing their definitions of anti-Semitism? Why is
Because
that?
they benefit from the foundation of anti-Zionism and
Right, so
anti-Semitism.
that to me is
There
very
we go.
telling.
True.
Consciously or subconsciously, by the way. I do not think that Conduit is walking in the conversation. He's like, I'm going to rhetorically trip up, Pisco by being ephemeral about the definition of anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. I think it's conscious and it's subconscious because I think instinctively, a lot of the people who are critical of others and labeling them anti-Semites, including Doobie, including you, including Hassan Piker, including Kyle Kalinske, the reason why is because they reflexively know that, not you specifically, I don't know your position on Israel-Palestine, but that these people are ardently in support of liberating Palestine from the river to the sea, which that necessarily means that the nation's, the state of Israel will be dissolved. There will no longer be an Israeli government. The Jews who are there will be subject either to a secular democratic or Muslim theocratic government. And as a result, in whatever caused the death of the Israeli state, there will likely be extreme violence similar to what happened on October 7, 2023. So if you're wishing from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. And if you're vociferous and unapologetic about that fact, you're effectively vociferous and unapologetic about the death of probably tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of Jews, which is potentially anti-Semitic, right?
You just said potentially, right?
Well, I say potentially because if the Hamas fighter is like, well, I don't hate Jews on an
We're talking
individual
about the
basis, but I'm going to
definition.
saw this guy's head off
no, but
because
I grant
of
you can,
the geopolitical struggle of the Palestinian people.
Please,
I
Connor,
don't think the
please,
Jews
Connor.
themselves care for the differentiation.
Connor.
Whether they care for the differentiation is also irrelevant. I want to address what you just said, but I also want to address.
Sure, you want to be accurate.
Yes. I'm not going to. So I want to address a bunch of stuff. So the first thing is we cannot discuss whether this person is a chair salesman until we agree on a hardline definition of chair. So I assume that we have shared notions of these words and that they're common usages. And so I go by the common usage of the term. And so with chair, I have a rough understanding of what people are talking about when they refer to chairs. But if there was a divergence or a clear mismatch in how someone was using the term chair, you actually would need to understand what the other person has in a chair to know if they're a chair salesman. That's just so trivial. It's so funny that you raise this because that's precisely a great example. I assumed in the first Conduit conversation that there was a shared notion of anti-Semitism. That's why I was granting that I thought that there some content increases anti-Semitism. I was assuming that he was using a common notion of anti-Semitism, which I think that I'm using. And when it became clear that he wasn't, wait, let me just finish all these. I'm sorry, it's going to take a minute and a half. If it becomes clear that we don't know what we each are saying when it comes to chair, in order to find out if they're a chair salesman, we actually do need to understand when you say chair, I'm just talking about octopuses. Well, then that bears on whether or not someone's a chair salesman if what you mean by chair is octopuses, right? Now that's a crazy example. It's just to illustrate the point. And secondly, Haruna Matata says, there's established literature on the definition of anti-Semitism. Just read it, you in the college. Bro, I'm not the one raising anti-Semitism, right? They come on a call to talk to me about anti-Semitism. I'm going to use their words as I understand they're ordinarily used. That's how I'm going to use the words, right? And so you're like, why haven't you done research? I'm not the one who's pushing this line. I'm responding to it. If they want to present me shit, this is not my bread and butter. By the way, neither is Israel issues or Israel-Palestine. And so it's just a bit much to be okay, and I'll finish here. It's a bit much to be read the literature. I'm just using the words in their ordinary usage. And if they want to present stuff, they can do it, but they don't present a definition. They don't present a definition. And so that's a problem.
Sure. But I think that your And by the way, we've known each other for 6 years. So when I think that you want rhetorical or logical rigor, I don't assume bad faith or an attempt to obfuscate the topic. I'm assuming that you are the same Pisco that I've talked to for the past 6 years who has insisted upon rhetorical and logical rigor.
Good job.
So the point that I'm trying to make, though, is if we're thinking emotionally, not rhetorically or logically, and then there's a Hamas fighter who is sawing off a Jewish child's head, right? He literally has a dull knife and he's sawing off their head.
We got it.
And an anti-Semite, or excuse me, a Jewish person says, "Oh, this Hamas fighter is anti-Semitic. They're hurting a Jew." But then the Hamas fighter stops and they say, "Yo, I'm not an anti-Semite. I don't hate all Jews. I got a friend in Brooklyn who's Jewish, and they don't believe in the Israeli state. They just I'm sawing this child's head off because they're Zionist. They're a settler baby, like my best friend Hassan Piker on the internet said." Then at that point, the pedantry of trying to differentiate anti-Zionist or anti-Semitic, yeah, sure, it serves you and me utility because we want to be logically and rhetorically accurate. But to the Jewish person, they just go, "Holy shit, that Hamas fighter is sawing off a child's head. Why the fuck
so what am I supposed to do?
What do you want to do with that?
What are two possibilities, right? We can either not have that conversation with people for whom the distinction is meaningless, and we'll be offended that we would even disentangle it. Someone could pick a less emotionally charged hypothetical so that we're not just trying to like virtue signal and like make people look bad on purpose.
Oh, you mean hardcore hypotheticals aren't okay? So when somebody says, "I don't really know if I would support Francesca Hong," would you rather have MAGA in every single office in the United States, or would you rather vote for one socialist ever, AOC? Would you rather it's like this? Pico is the king of the most lacking nuance, the most binary hypotheticals known to mankind, or over at least the past like month he has been. Jesus.
So there's ways to address that meta concern, but like if what you're interested in is correct discourse, if what you're interested in is like truth, then how do you react to that? Just like say, yes, it's anti-Semitic, even if it doesn't fit the definition, and whatever crazy hypothetical.
No. I would insist upon the anti-Zionist definition. I would
actually
say
no. That's true, right?
This Hamas fighter, but that's what I would say. Sorry, real quick. I would just, because you and I grow up in Twitch and YouTube politics, and we're both autistic. If somebody said, "Oh, you're saying it's possible for a Hamas fighter to kill a Jew in Israel and not be an anti-Semite," I would say, yeah, based off of the definition of like hostility to Jews on virtue of them being Jewish,
based on the definition
it's
of
possible
anti-Semitism.
for a Hamas fighter to kill a Jew while not being an anti-Semite, but he could be a rabid anti-Zionist and have super harsh attitudes towards Jews in the Eastern Mediterranean who are trying to establish.
How would you ever prove, like, on a purely logic Lord level, you could agree with them on a purely logical level, but then the issue comes into, how could you ever prove that anybody is ever anti-Semitic ever? Because at that point, even somebody who says, and you would have to grant this, even somebody who says, "I hate Jews," even somebody who says that might not actually be anti-Semitic. When they say they hate Jews, in their mind, they're thinking Jews, the people of Israel. They don't actually, like, if they met it and you were like, you hate Jews? Yeah, I've been locking me here my whole life in Gaza. It's like, have you been to the United States or whatever? No, my dad did. Oh, did he ever meet Jews there? Yeah, the Jews in Brooklyn, they're chill or whatever. But like, I hate all these Jews here. It's like, oh, okay. So like that, even the guy who says, "I hate all Jews and would kill Jews," like, is not necessarily anti-Semitic if that's what we're going to play the game as. Like, it's just
state. And that, by the way, this has nothing to do with good or bad. Being like a violent anti-Zionist could still be within its own category of good and bad.
Anti-Zionism could be evil,
regardless
right?
of whether or not it was anti-Semitic.
Like also evil is tangential. Good is tangential. If you want to ask whether this is good or bad, that's just like a separate question. It could be the case. Right. Now, I don't believe it. Like I don't believe this case has been shown, but it could be the case that anti-Zionism is just evil as. Like that is not everything that's evil and that negatively affects Jews is necessarily anti-Semitic, right? There are laws.
The reason, this is actually really important. The reason why I describe myself as a tepid anti-Zionist, even though people have made the repeated moral case to me that Israel was only the modern state of Israel was only established in 1948. They've engaged in wars of aggression and blah. Take the anti-Zionist dialogue tree and just inject it into my veins. Okay. The reason why I'm a tepid Zionist, meaning that I still want the nation state of Israel to exist, is because I know that in order to evaporate the nation state of Israel, this will necessarily cause grievous harm to tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of Jews in the Eastern Mediterranean. So I would like a solution, a two-state solution preferably, that actually resolves the suffering of the Palestinians and the Jews without further bloodshed. Now, of course, that's not going to happen. But the reason why I'm saying, or the reason why I'm critical of anti-Zionists, like Doobie, like Hassan Piker, like Mike from PA, is they pretend that their solution could somehow be manifested without the dispossession and death of tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of Jews. And I think that's myopic and stupid. You can still be a bad anti-Zionist.
Yes, and anti-Zionism itself could be bad. But like, look at this question from DRT0. Like, it's hard for me to think this is not bad faith, and I'm assuming that it's good faith. And so, but like, understand when I see this question, right? it sounds like, it feels like you just want me to say that anti-Semitism is not necessarily bad to get the clip of me saying that, when you know what I would mean if I said that was just that the definition of anti-Semitism does not contain within it a good or bad indicator, just like racism, right? It's not in the definition of these terms. That's all that means, right? And it feels like what you're trying to do is get me to look at the definition, right? And this is what people will do. Instead of producing a definition, they'll just ask questions like this. And all they're asking for me is to look at a definition and see if it contains the words good or bad in it, right? And find me a common definition of anti-Semitism that includes the, good or bad.
The funny thing about this is Pisco earlier, this is one of my huge complaints, by the way. Like, I don't even necessarily disagree with even the substance of the point that Pisco's making here, that sometimes people are just obsessed with trying to find, like, whether this is a good thing or a bad thing. And I do think that's fucking annoying. But it's a tinge ironic that earlier in this conversation, Pisco said he doesn't know anything about Gaza or Israel-Palestine. I think he said that, right? He doesn't really know much about it. But I'm pretty sure he's adamant that it's a genocide. So it's like, if you don't care about the normative loading of a word, and you don't know anything about the conflict itself, why do you have a strong position on whether or not it's a genocide? Why would you even, why not just like say exactly what you're saying here and now? It's because he does want to borrow from the normative loading of the word genocide so that he can make that criticism for whatever, political groups he's in. And it's just like, pick a lane.
Inherently in the definition, you'll see things like fair or unfair, right? Unfair bias, but unfairness isn't necessarily good or bad. According to different,
Well, we're getting really goofy with definitions now. To say that unfairness is not necessarily good or bad, I feel like the term unfair presupposes a fairness. Like the term unfair, I think presupposes the word fair, and I think fair is almost definitionally a thing that we're always aiming for. You can use some kind of abstract context to make a thing not that way. Like, for instance, you could say that affirmative action is actually an unfairness, but the only reason we would even be supportive of affirmative action is because we are trying to make what we perceive to be something that's unfair more fair, right? It would be in the service of the concept of fairness. So I don't know what the point of this point is.
Common normative philosophies. And so it's not the case that these terms contain within them inherent good, inherent bad, but it sounds like that's what you're trying to do, is to load it, and more specifically, to clip me out of context, right? And so, yes, I think that discrimination based on race is bad.
What is the clipping obsession that this guy's been talking about too? I'm the most boring long form person on the internet. What is the clipping out of context? Where did this obsession with this phrase come from? The clipping. Yeah, all of this is Hassan vocabulary, by the way. That's what's actually happening, but
it's not the definition of discrimination for it to be bad. Do you understand the difference there? I can take the view that nuclear holocaust is bad, but the definition of nuclear holocaust isn't bad, right? You're just trying to clip.
No one has said this.
Your cockroach, it might be good.
It's crazy. You can take a view that, so I'll give you an example, right? The definition of...
the funny thing is, of all the clip farmers, it is Pisco that clip farms the hardest out of anybody of the Live and Learn crew, right? Pisco is constantly the one of oh, so you're telling me that you might not support Hassan because he's a socialist or whatever? Would you vote for Hassan or Epstein? JD Vance or AOC? Would you vote for Donald Trump? And it's Jesus Christ. I feel Pisco's the one that shoves the clip farming stuff harder than any person I've ever seen on the internet. Holy fuck.
What's an evil... an orc, right? Let's say that all orcs are evil, right? Let's say that all orcs are evil. But the definition of orc isn't evil, right? You could have, and that could be a totally consistent thought process to have. And if someone were to ask you, wait, you don't think orcs are evil? No, that's not what's being said. What's being said is the definition.
Doesn't the definition of these things include / imply the outcome? How are they not bad? They do. The content of these words, the semantic content of these words, morally is almost certainly bad. If he wanted to make an argument about something like this, then he would be closer if he was looking at a word, for instance, like discrimination. Now, discrimination is not something that is intrinsically bad. Usually it's seen that way, but it's not always, right? So price discrimination, or when you're discriminating, truly the word discrimination just means to choose between something based on some property. You're discriminating from one thing to the next, or between two different things for some characteristic. Now, racism is, I've never heard in my entire life racism used in a way that's not, that's just normatively a bad, it's normally loaded as a bad word. There's not such a thing as good racism. It's like saying, is there good coercion or good fraud or good, we would never use those terms like that. That's just a very weird
Thought daughter or Fuentes' son?
Yeah, true.
Of orc doesn't contain within it evil. Same thing with, by the way, genocide. Yeah, the term genocide doesn't contain within it good or bad. It's
like I just don't know. I'm sorry. Like this is you've logic loaded yourself into such an untenable position. I don't even know. Like what's an example of a good genocide? If I'm trying to think of one. Yeah, well, I'm sure they can think of one. Just kidding. Just kidding. That was a joke. That was a joke. That was a joke. That was a joke.
Other shit within it, right? Like they're just different. Now that wouldn't stop you from saying, I believe genocide is bad, and it feels like a clipping behavior for you to.
I believe genocide is. You're trying to clip me because I won't agree that genocide is bad. What?
Raise that. But I assume it's good faith.
Okay, it is. So what you described, though, the attempt to get you to explore anti-Zionism versus anti-Semitism versus hostility to the state of Israel versus Kyle Kalinski's behavior, it is an attempt to get you to explore this topic so they can find 10 to 20 seconds of you exploring the topic so they can clip it and then they can say, oh, look, he's an...
Like, can you show me a single example, even one example of that ever happening ever? Like, just one from anybody in my community, from me ever? Like, when has anybody ever done this? I watch all of this shit long form so I can play Factorio. I watch all of these videos. I'm never just like sniping clips from these people. It's such a weird accusation to make that has absolutely zero foundation in reality.
Interpersonal bigot against Jews. And Kingslayer Damocles even did it in this chat. Kingslayer Damocles, I literally think you're missing what I'm saying, which is kind of funny. So what I'm saying is the hostility, let's not call it a Hamas fighter because Hamas has the explicit charter of not only annihilating the Jewish state, but also like probably it says some negative shit about Jews. So let's just say it's a Palestinian dude who's not affiliated with Hamas, but then he stabs someone to death, but it's purely geopolitical. It has nothing to do with like the religion or the identity of the Jew. It's because of the existence of the nation state of Israel. So for instance, take that same human being, put him in Brooklyn, and he gets along with everybody. He's happy as a clam. He works a small business. He's the most gentle guy you've ever seen in your entire life. But then put that same person in Palestine, and because of the oppression of the IDF or the Israeli state, they become anti-IDF, anti-Israel, and therefore anti-Israeli. Delineating Zionism from Judaism is important in this context.
Like, I know I've repeated this a billion times. I'm so sorry. I miswoke one. I actually miswoke one. Where do they think that a lot of bigotry comes from? That like I'm sorry, like there are foundations in fact in all forms of like bigotry and hatred, right? I'm not saying that there is a justification to be bigoted or hateful, but like this is like now I feel like I'm a fucking old school conservative where it's like stereotypes don't come from nowhere. Like people don't have hatred for others out of nowhere, right? Like there are lots of people in the United States that are unfairly, I would argue, Islamophobic, especially when they're talking about people like Dani or El Sayed. They're hardcore Islamophobic. I don't know if that same Islamophobia doesn't happen without the 2 Twin Tower attacks. Okay, that was a pretty big thing in the United States. It was a big deal to us. I don't know if did I say anti-Semitism? I meant Islamophobia. I don't know if that level of Islamophobia exists still in the United States without the 9/11 attacks, without the earlier World Trade Center attack. I don't know. Without the ISIS attacks across Europe. I don't know. But does that justify Islamophobia? Or does that somehow make it not Islamophobic or not racist or not like we're logic lording these terms so much that
because there are 15% of the Jewish population that do not identify with the nation state of Israel or its continued existence. So if the definition doesn't work, it doesn't work. And that has no moral bearing, positive or negative. We could still say that chopping an Israeli's head off is bad within this exact same frame.
Or likely anti-Semitic. I mean, like I don't have a problem saying that either. Just like I say, it's like
I think Pisco would say there isn't good racism, but there is not bad racism. No extrinsic harm, but still racist. That doesn't make any sense. I think everybody would say. I think that now this would be a harder one just because we have such strong associations with these words. But we can argue that some forms of like racial discrimination is okay, but it's hard there because racial discrimination is heavily associated with racism. But we would never say that some forms of racism are okay. So, for instance, a black person goes into a hospital and has excruciating pain all over their fucking body or some shit. To say they're black, and so maybe we should test for sickle cell, right? That's a in a way, you're engaged in a form of discrimination. We're discriminating on a battery of tests based upon like the race of a person. This is technically a form of racial discrimination, and it really is technically. And you're making an assessment based on the race, and then discriminating between the test you'll choose, as a result of that race. But we would never say right? So again, racial discrimination, even that term is kind of loaded, but not always. It doesn't have to be intrinsically. But you would never say, oh, I'm really, really lucky. When I went to the hospital yesterday, I got a racist doctor, and he was racist because he gave me the sickle cell test immediately, and I was so happy that he was racist. And like the term, the semantic content of the word racism, I think necessarily carries a moral bad. I've never heard anybody describe affirmative action as racism. I've never heard anybody describe DEI as racism. Well, conservatives do. But like, you can have racially discriminatory policies or express like racial preferences or whatever in some areas where it's not racist.
Exact same frame.
Or likely anti-Semitic. I mean, like, I don't have a problem saying that either. Just like I say, it's likely the case that or even presumptively the case.
You have the probability of like a shop owner discriminating based off of projected socioeconomic status that disproportionately affects black folk over, but his motivations are material rather than racist. Do we think that somebody who discriminates that way is likely racist? Of course.
Yeah,
but does that mean that's his prime motivation?
Or that's the definition of racism?
Obviously.
So Riddell is kind of...
like, it's so funny that this is the argument. This is Alito's argument on the Voting Rights Act. Like, you have to prove that a gerrymander was done explicitly to discriminate against a group of people. You have to prove it wasn't done just for political purposes, because political gerrymanders are fine. Like, this is, I don't know, actually. I didn't watch Pisco cover it. Maybe Pisco agrees with Alito's argument. And Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act was definitionally unconstitutional because there is no law against political gerrymanders. And racial gerrymanders are fine as long as they're done for political reasons.
I believe Riddell's good faith. He says, so the semantics of the core components of applied morals in a vacuum doesn't make sense to people since they're presuming usage of the rhetoric already within context. But like, then you just need to go to a different stream, right? Like, doesn't make sense to people.
So the semantics of the core components of applied morals in a vacuum doesn't make sense to people since they're pre-assuming the usage of the rhetoric already within context. Well, the guy doesn't have to be this.
Since they're presuming usage of the rhetoric already within context. But like, then you just need to go to a different stream, right? Like, and if you want to ask these questions and you just want me to virtue signal,
oh my
and
God.
give you like, and I love Wick. Go to Wick's channel because he'll virtue signal all day. If you just want me to like repeat back like some sentimentality or some shared common notion instead of asking a specific question and getting a specific answer, you got to go somewhere else because I'm not going to.
I know that goes back to the sombrero shit. It's like, no, bro, I'm not just going to bend reality to your will because you're moral frogging about it.
Yeah.
And then
There's plenty of people who can do that.
Someone somewhere misses the point again. Okay, but you could say that with anyone. Take a racist KKK guy and raise him in New York, and he probably wouldn't be racist, right? But the argument is like, if you want to argue whether or not he's racist, what matters is whether or not he has an internal belief, believing that the races are separate and that there are more virtuous and less virtuous races. So if he's a KKK member,
like nobody, like I won't say nobody, but like most people don't conceptualize their bigotry on this level. Like, and you don't have to. Like, it's just a wacky and wild ride we're on right now.
Well, actually, that probably doesn't work because I think that institution inherently has the supremacy of whites built into it. But if you took a guy from the South and he didn't believe that the races had an inherent good or bad qualities, and then you put that same person in New York, the definition of racism actually has nothing to do with his environment or upbringing or whatever. It's whether or not he has the internal belief. That's exactly what we're fucking pointing at when we're talking about the definition of anti-Semitism. We're saying, does this person have an internal belief that is bigoted against Jews as a category? And Jew is a different word than Zionist, and they mean different things. So I think that Kyle Kalinske, Hassan Piker, are ardent anti-Zionists. 100%. That definition matches 100%. Anti-Zionist, you're going to have to argue about it because they're going to say there are Jews that
I wish, and I guess it'll never come up. I would be curious to hear the answer to this. Why would anybody ever express an anti-Semitic belief then when they could just express an anti-Zionist belief and it would basically map on one-to-one? And you would never have to say anything about Jews. What, like, give me, like, what's an example of like a single thing a person could utter that would be, like, if they wanted to be fully anti-Semitic, but they just say it's anti-Zionist. Like, we have people, Hassan Piker has justified the murder of settler babies. So, I mean, like, how much more do we need to do here? How much further do we need to go?
don't dislike. And that's the definition of anti-Semitism, is I dislike Jews. Right.
Well, I think there's additional concepts in anti-Semitism that we explored, which are like, if someone does non-trivial amounts of discriminatory actions independent of their, and this is another thing that people try to quote, like, me out of context on. If someone does a non-trivial amount of racist actions, by which you mean discriminatory in their nature, you can imagine someone who has no racist bone in their body, but just repeats slurs all the time, right? And just goes around, using slurs, even though he doesn't actually have a bias. He just thinks it's like funny or whatever. Or someone who does a discriminatory hiring practice, even though they don't harbor any negative feelings or prejudice feelings or feelings of whatever, right? All of that, I think that's a separate notion of anti-Semitism that also rings true to me and is something that I feel is in the common usage, and you can find them in certain dictionaries. The thing that I take issue with is this notion of anti-Semitism of people, which is independent of their state of mind or independent of whether their action.
I don't know what he was just going to say. Because, like, so somebody who uses the N-word because they think it's funny, is he implying that you could call that person racist or you'd be able to determine that person's racist? But somebody believing in every single anti-Semitic conspiracy theory, but they just call it Zionist, you couldn't believe that that person's anti-Semitic?
Is or is not discriminatory. That is the definition of anti-Semitism, is like keyed in on some just results, qua results. That is what I take issue with, and that because that will lead you to insane bullet bites.
My wife is coming back with the kids early. She's saying she's literally in the front yard, or ex-wife, excuse me. So I need to run. But what I would say is this conversation, maybe we should continue it at a later time just so we can fully flesh it out.
And I encourage people to watch the Avi conversation I'm going to have with Avi and Loaderbox on this issue. And I'm sure we'll get into all these. And Avi wants to present evidence that that particular influencers are anti-Semitic, and so we'll do that too. I'm not afraid of this conversation.
What I want to say though before I go is that if Pisco had been, in my opinion, and this is both a criticism and a compliment. If Pisco had been less obtuse, less pedantic, less desiring of linearizing arguments 6 years ago, then maybe I would be like, oh, Pisco is hiding his power level and playing with the vagaries of definitions in order to cover for his leftist sympathetic political worldview and his desire to cape for anti-Semites and anti-Zionists. Then,
yep, that's my argument, by the way. At least you got my argument down perfectly. That's exactly what I think. Thank you.
I might presume bad faith on Pisco. But Pisco has been, I've known him for 6 years now. I think we started talking in 2019 or the summer of 2020.
Yeah.
So he has always wanted to linearize arguments. He has always wanted logical and rhetorical rigor. He's always wanted to be very specific with his language. And if you were imprecise with your language, he would press you on said imprecision to the point that you just wanted to claw your eyes out.
On everything, bro.
So he hasn't changed at all.
Yeah,
and I don't think he was an anti-Semite then, and I don't think he's an anti-Semite now. So I got to run because my boy's in the front yard, but it was always good. It's always good catching up, bro. So
likewise,
stay in there. You fight the good fight the way that you want to fight it, and I'll fight the good fight the way that I want to fight it, and we'll meet up somewhere in the middle.
Thank you, dude. Peace out.
All right. Bye, buddy.
Bye. Well, that was a bit of circle jerk. Hey, guys, thank you so much. I have to go soon.
Jesus Christ. Apparently the guy that had all that information on Jola, I don't know why his comment got removed from the subreddit by Reddit. Was there a reason why? Is there a way for me to know? Or is saying regard instead of saying the R slur? Is that like a Reddit removable offense now?
How good you've got. You've got it so good, you don't know how good you've got it. And if you can't see that, the problem is you.
Damn.
So stop complaining, bitch.
Whoa!
You little whiner. Get to work.
Is he doing an impression of, like, the establishment or something?
Retirement? What? That's for ungrateful people. Get back to work. Eat your Del Taco. They're only $4.50. Your parents would have been grateful for a $4.50 Del Taco. Getting out after 18 hours in the spinning mill. They were only 9 years old. They didn't have Del Taco then. So you've
time. This is cool stuff. It's a good time to be a Democrat. This is
Okay. Why stop? You.
It comes to, and I think this is the case for literally homophobia, racism, like all of these things, is going to be like outcomes based. Right? It is going to be about like whether or not it ends up harming a community. Generally, the actions, like if we're talking about like a verb, it's going to be like.
I have no idea what you're saying right there. You're saying anti-Semitism, it is going to be outcomes based. What do you mean by that? You're saying definitionally it is?
So that's what I'm explaining right now. Is that like if we're talking about a verb, it's going to be like just some sort of like disproportionate bias or a discrimination, unfair discrimination or unfair bias towards a group of people. But whether or not that bias matters or that discrimination matters is normally going to be based on like a harm that's actually caused to that group of people or a likely harm that would be caused.
Really?
Yes.
So if you knew someone was racist, but you knew it, right? Like you knew that someone had a prejudice against black people who thought that black people were all scum and criminals, but they never acted on it and they kept to themselves. They never did anything racist in terms of actually discriminating against people and actually, not allowing them into the shop, whatever. Would you condemn his racist belief? Yes or no?
The belief, I mean, if he's expressing this to me, yeah, probably.
Yeah. So it isn't just about outcomes, right?
That it's because I believe that the
No! This example is almost like inconceivable because what if somebody had racist beliefs but never acted on them? What does it mean to have racist beliefs at that point? And why would you have racist beliefs that you wouldn't act on? Like, let's say you had a racist belief that black people legitimately were, like, all thieves. And then a black guy came in your house, but you never took more precautions against the black person than you would, like, a white person. Why wouldn't you? Like, do you even have the belief at that point? Like, if your belief becomes disconnected from any action? Or I guess maybe you could think, I think they are more likely to steal, but I'm willing to let him steal from me. But I feel like this, I feel like it's a very, very, very difficult thing to consider. Like, I don't know if this is a good, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Belief is likely to lead to those outcomes. It's likely to
okay, true.
lead to those actions.
No, it's not just that. If you knew someone was privately racist, even if it didn't affect anything, we condemn beliefs all the time. We think that they're immoral
Yes,
things.
because they are likely to lead to those outcomes. Why?
We
don't condemn the beliefs. Pisco's saying we condemn beliefs all the time, even if they lead to absolutely no outcomes. I'm pretty sure the reason why we're generally critical of the beliefs is because they almost always do lead to bad outcomes. I don't understand what that means. We just don't want people to be racist, but we don't actually think it has any impact in the real world? What?
Because they are likely to lead to those outcomes. Why?
We just do it. That's what people do. Like, if people have horrible beliefs,
why?
let's say you knew someone was, fetishized cannibalism, or someone.
What?
For example, the best case of this is schmetophilia, right? You would condemn that belief, that disposition.
Schmetophilia, or was he trying to say pedophilia? What?
Yes, but why?
Because you think it's a bad belief to have. Not just
But
necessarily
why?
because of the outcome. Because you don't like it, right?
No,
Yes,
because
yes.
it's likely to lead to a negative outcome.
Even if you knew it wasn't, right? So you would say that you're indifferent to a schmetophile, even if you know it's not likely.
Oh, because they say because if they say pedophile, it gets censored. What?
If this person can't offend, even if this person is in no position to be able to offend, you wouldn't condemn that view? You wouldn't condemn that disposition?
No.
Would we care? Let's say that you were dropped on an island and it was 50 males who were 25 and older, and there were never going to be any women. You just had to survive as long as you could. But like one of the guys was a pedophile, but they're on an island. There's no kids ever. Like what?
No, if I knew for sure that was the case, no, of course not. The only reason that I would condemn it is because I think those things, or those beliefs and those biases are likely to lead to different actions, and those actions are going to negatively affect other people.
Really?
Yeah, not clip farming, by the way. Not clip farming here, by the way.
You never say that belief by itself is monstrous. Like, say that someone like really they admire Hitler. But you just know that this person is like, let's say that they're 90 years old, they admire Hitler, they have a bunch of Hitler paraphernalia, they don't spread their belief, they just have it, and you found out that person had that belief, and you also simultaneously knew that he would never act on it or express it to anyone other than you, would you think less of that person?
If I knew that they would...
It's just so weird to define a belief that never expresses itself in any action ever. Like, that's just a very strange world where we have to totally disconnect our beliefs from our actions. Like, it's almost inconceivable that a belief wouldn't manifest in some way in your life. Like, it's just very, very difficult to contemplate.
Would never act on it or anything. I mean, like, intuitively, yes, but only because I believe that they are going to act on it. But if you're telling me that I know for a fact that they wouldn't act on it, no, I don't. Yeah, I don't. I think that, like, only because I am trained to believe that those beliefs lead to negative outcomes is the only bias that I would have against that thing. But if somehow I knew for a fact that there was no way that was going to happen, then yeah, there's no reason to be, because normally when I think something is bad, or if I think it's immoral, or if I think it's wrong, I think that because of negative outcomes that are going to come from it. Do you disagree with that?
I disagree. I think that people are disgusted by, I think certain beliefs are just bad to have, irrespective sometimes even of the outcomes. I think that there's and I certainly think that certain beliefs are bad to have. That's one of the even if you can't control it, right? Like I'm kind of like a determinist in many respects, where I don't believe in libertarian free will, and so yeah, I do think that certain belief states are bad, independent of what.
What does that mean that it's bad?
It means non-desirable.
What? No.
That's it. Just non-desirable. Just it's bad because it's non-desirable.
It shouldn't occur. You shouldn't have that thought. That belief shouldn't exist. Ought not occur.
Yes, but
Thomas navigating this well. You have to be careful when you say bad, because it's pretty hard unless you want to get into some kind of like theological belief or something, it's pretty hard to do a bad thing that's not connected somehow to some form of harm, right? And when we talk about beliefs, we talk about internal mental states. If they don't manifest in the external world ever, are we really saying it's a bad thing to have a thought? Like, I think that all forms of unjustified violence are bad. But I'm thinking right now, I'm thinking a thought of unjustified violence right now. Was that a bad thought if it never manifests in any kind of like physical action? I don't think most people would subscribe to that. I think that Tom is correct in that people would say, well, even if you have the thought and you didn't act on it, it's still bad. But I think Tom is correct in saying the reason why people would say that is because they're intuiting that the bad thoughts will eventually lead to the bad actions.
It shouldn't occur. You shouldn't have that thought. That belief shouldn't exist. Ought not occur.
Yes, but
that's
what
what I
does
take bad to be.
shouldn't? Yeah, but when you say shouldn't or ought not,
yeah, should normatively.
I would
yes,
think
it's a normative conversation.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is when you say shouldn't or ought not, normally, like I feel like when we say those terms, when we say that, we mean that like you ought not do something or you shouldn't do it or it's bad because
it'll lead to
some sort of negative consequence.
Not always. Not always.
Give an example.
Not always.
Can you give me an example where that is not likely the case?
He's going to say, what if you're a racist and you have that belief, a strong racist belief, but you never act on it? It's just so weird to have beliefs that you don't act on in any way. I don't know. That's just a strange...
Yeah. So like if someone has they just are, they fetishize like eating people and you know that they're not apt to do anything else, you would
but
think
again,
that's a
not
bad belief to have.
Is it? What is the belief here that like you would enjoy eating humans? Like you're a cannibal? You believe you're a cannibal, but you would never act on it? Or, like it's definitely a weird belief. I'm sure there are some people maybe that would say it's bad, but I mean like, or not bad, but like, no, some people probably would just say bad, but they would imagine you eating humans, right? Which is bad, generally without their consent, because most humans don't want to be eaten. But if you literally never act on it, right? I don't know. That it's such a weird thing to entertain.
Again, what I'm saying, an example where that's not likely the case. If somebody has a fetish for eating people, it is likely that they do want to eat people. That they
no.
Yes,
I'm not denying that. That fetishization means that they would want to, independent of other considerations, but you just know they won't actualize it. But I don't understand why.
Yes, I understand. But I'm saying. Because I'm saying that is the reason. No, I'm not. I'm saying that the reason that we would say it's bad is only because it is likely to lead to negative outcomes.
I wouldn't say necessarily only, but it's like a 95%. I'm sure there are some thoughts that maybe people could say are so... No, actually, I don't know if there are. I'm not sure. Now I'm thinking from like a parenting perspective. A lot of parents, if they're honest, and if their child... I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. Like, there are a lot of times where you want to kill your kid, all right, in a video game, where it's like, oh my God, you just want to... Oh, this... Right? They won't stop screaming. They're being stupid. They're doing dumb shit in a store. But, like, you're not an evil person for having the thought of, like, I want to tie my kid to the back of my car and, drag this mother... That's not... You get upset, but then you deal with the thought. It doesn't manifest in an action. And you move on. People get mad at their friends, their partners, their kids, their teachers, coworkers. It's okay to have an upset feeling as long as it doesn't manifest in an action. And then I don't think somebody would say, if anything, I feel like it would be a bit unhealthy to say that, like, if you ever have a bad thought, you need to excise these from your mind. These are unhealthy things. You should never have a bad thought. I mean, you shouldn't entertain a bad thought and have it manifest to a bad action, but...
That is the only reason we would say that. If in this hypothetical, we know it won't, there is nothing bad about it. The bad is the likeliness to lead to negative outcomes.
Did someone who vote for Trump do a bad thing?
If we, oh my God, how? Jesus Christ. The person who voted for Trump probably didn't believe that they did a bad thing because whatever moral values they have, they would probably argue aligns more with whatever moral values are being espoused by the Republican Party or Trump at the time versus but this is going to be a difference of perspective, no?
I would say yes, yeah.
Why? One vote doesn't change anything.
Oh my God, what? Whoa, don't get dragged into this. What?
Well, I think it does. Each and every single one vote does something.
No, just the one person's individual vote. Was that individual vote, irrespective of anything else, was that a bad thing to do?
Yes.
Why? It had no effect on the contest. There was no likelihood that it would have an effect on the contest.
Because I would be holding a very different standard for that one individual versus literally everybody else.
Wait, whether you would hold a different standard for no, I'm saying any given individual. Any given individual, you would say has.
Yes, I understand, and that's what I'm saying. Is that the reason that I wouldn't is because I would be inconsistent on my standard. If you're saying no, not like a standard that you would apply to everybody. Well, the reason that I would say it's bad is because I'm applying the standard to everybody because each one individual's vote matters in the end as a collective.
A particular individual goes up to you and it's like 5 minutes before polls close, and everyone else has already voted. They're the last person to vote. They said, "Dude, Tom, I'm going to vote for Trump." Would you say that's a bad thing?
Like the issue here is that like he's hitting on like an individual thing, but it's like the process of voting is not a good or a bad thing because your individual vote will flip the election. It's because you have to participate in it's because you have to participate in democracy. It's like part of your responsibility in your democratic participation or civic duty, right? Much the same that like you could argue if you made $10,000 and you owed $100 in taxes or whatever after credits and everything, and you didn't pay your $100. Well, that $100 is a wash. It's a rounding error of a rounding error of a rounding error. The federal government's never going to know, right? So, but when we say, well, it wasn't bad then to not pay your taxes because they're not going to notice, or like you steal like one potato, it's not bad because the farmer's not going to notice. Like this is no.
Yes.
But the votes have already occurred.
Or what? Yeah,
we're just considering that one person's action in the moment, and you're saying it's bad. You understand it won't affect the outcome, right?
It doesn't affect the outcome, but it's a vote.
Yeah. What does a vote do? I mean, she's not going to influence anyone else to vote for her. She's just now arriving at the polling station. She asks you. She says, "I'm going to vote for Trump." It's negligible. It won't change anything. It's one vote.
Something being negligible shouldn't theoretically have an impact on the I think on the moral value of the action, right? Like littering is bad, whether you litter in a dirty place or a clean place. But if it's a really dirty place and you litter, the impact is going to be negligible. Nobody's going to notice, but it's still bad.
Let's say it's a vote in West Virginia. Okay, it's a vote in West Virginia by a conservative. I'm going to vote for Trump on the last minute of when the polls are open.
Yes.
It says to you, "Is that a bad thing?" You would say that's a bad thing. Why?
Because if enough people did that thing, it's
already happened. All that shit has already occurred. She's the last voter. She's not going to change anything.
Again,
right?
I don't. You're saying that the very last person to vote, and we've already counted all of the ballots, and already know that he won.
Wait, not counting. Wait, are you fucking stupid, Tom? I know you're not this stupid. All right, I'm asking whether that action, the action of one person asking.
It's confusing here because Tom said that the beliefs are bad because they're tied to an action that causes something bad to happen. And now Pisco is saying, well, what if somebody, I don't even know why this is I don't even know why he's using this as an example. What if somebody doesn't vote? Like and you would consider that a bad action. Oh, but then he's trying to see if you disconnect it from all outcomes, would you still consider it a good or bad thing? But the outcome that he's tying it to here is not the actual outcome of voting. I don't think we vote with the intention that our one vote will flip an entire election, right? If that was the purpose of voting, was for one vote to flip an election, and then you chose not to vote, that might be bad. But we vote understanding that our singular vote probably won't flip an election almost ever. But this is such a dumb.
You whether they're going to vote for Trump or whether that's bad, whether that is a bad action. Forget about counting.
How do I know but if we haven't counted, how do I know it doesn't affect the outcome? What are you talking about?
Because none of these presidential elections turn on one vote. And it's in West Virginia, which isn't a swing state.
I'm sorry. It is still the same thing. It is because this is the standard that I would hold for everybody. I would have to be consistent with that standard.
No, Tom. Just examine that one action. That one action that you know to a certainty won't affect the outcome. It's not going to affect counting. It's not going to affect the disposition.
Pisco's
it's in West
inherent
Virginia. The
comprehension that
person's
a vote
conservative,
means nothing
and it's
is
the last
very
minute of
telling.
voting. All the other votes have already baked in, whether they're counted or not. That action, you agree, has zero effect on the consequence, correct?
Let's say that you know for a fact there's a cyborg and he analyzes all the road conditions, he analyzes you yourself, and you go to drunk drive, and he says there's like the chances of you getting to an accident drunk driving is the exact same as the chance of you getting to an accident driving any other day. Is it okay to drunk drive as long as you know you're not going to get into an accident? I guess, because the reason why we don't, I just don't understand the argument here. Like we don't vote because we think one vote, the action of voting is not the action of changing the outcome of an election. It's adding our vote to the tally to express our voice, and then ideally your candidate is voted for at the end. But if you're trying to disconnect the action here of just like changing the outcome of the election, it's not. I don't think it's a fair comparison.
It likely has zero effect on the consequence. Yes.
Okay.
It is.
So then why is it bad?
I don't. Okay. So as I said earlier, when I'm talking about morality, I'm talking about the likelihood of things, right?
I don't know if I could identify this in the middle of an argument. It's a really bad analogy because it's a really big trap here because he's mind him into thinking that the reason why it's bad, or I'm sorry, you want to say that not voting wouldn't be bad here because it wouldn't change the outcome of the election. So then how are you connecting an action to the outcome or whatever? But it's like the outcome that we look for when we vote is not to flip an election. He's attached these things in a way that we would never attach them colloquially, and it's not why we say voting is good.
Likelihood isn't just based on one single individual and their one action, but it is based on a larger societal thing. So like if we say, okay, this person over here, when he's, if we allow one white person to start saying the N-word, well, it's not likely to like dehumanize black people and make people start thinking less of them but like, we wouldn't do that because now we're making this very one singular rule for this one person where like the reason we say don't use the N-word towards black people is because it likely will systemically
Tom,
everybody does
Tom,
will dehumanize them.
Tom, let me add to it. All right? Tom, whatever you say here isn't going to change the societal rule. That your recommendation to this person will have no effect on the societal rule. It's just.
I mean, in that case, like at some point it doesn't matter anymore. I don't know where he learned like analogies from. All of the ways that he engages with analogies strips all of the like actual content of the concept that he's trying to interrogate, and it makes all of his analogies just completely nonsense. It's like not like you say it's bad to stab a person. Yes. Okay. What if when you stab that person, what if he secretly had a desire to die? Well, I mean, you wouldn't know, would you? Okay. What if you had a way to discern when people wanted to die, and then you walked to the street, and then you stabbed a person, and you knew that they wanted to die? And it's like, okay, we're assuming nobody's like traumatized. Yes, correct. It's like, okay, well, I guess in that case, then I guess it would be okay. Then that means that stabbing people is not intrinsically wrong, right? The stab is not wrong then, right? And it's like, I mean, Jesus Christ. I guess not in that context. Like, what the fuck?
One person is one.
We don't know the outcomes of elections before we vote. And we certainly communicate that to individuals, to single people before they vote. Like, it's not like possible to ever have this. It's an impossibly constructed hypothetical, right?
A rule. That your recommendation to this person will have no effect on the societal rule. It's just one person. It's a one-time thing. It won't affect the societal rule. It won't affect the general standard. It won't affect what you say to your audience. It's a totally private conversation. This person's going to die the second after they vote.
Mm-hmm. So we hold the societal rule in individual circumstances. So I'm saying that's how you would like deduce it morally is. I understand you're saying it doesn't affect the societal rule. I'm saying morally you are supposed to be consistent for this reason is because in individual circumstances, if you make exceptions for specific people, you would need a reason for that exception.
Okay, now suppose the following. Suppose that her voting for Trump is going to provide $1 billion to the needy. There's some benefactor out there that if they vote for Trump, it'll just result in maximum good to some other.
What he's doing? What if you psychically knew who wanted to be stabbed in the heart when you walked into the street ready to stab somebody? Like, what the fuck?
A group that you care about. $1 billion.
Mm-hmm. Then I would say they should probably vote for Trump.
So it's a good thing to vote for Trump, correct? So the rule isn't consistent.
Oh my God. Woo-hoo. Woo! What? This can't be real. No? I was joking with the stab thing. I didn't pre-watch it. What? Hello?
Vote for Trump.
So it's a good thing to vote for Trump, correct? So the rule isn't consistent. So you're not being consistent in your rule, are you?
You're giving me a different outcome. If we're weighing outcomes, then it's a different outcome now.
Wait, so then what is the rule then? Sorry, explain to me.
It's bad to rape people. Really? What if humans liked to be raped? Well, then I guess it would be good to rape people. Oh, so the rule's not consistent then, is it, idiot? And it's like, well, I mean, like there's an ontology of human. There's a general set of things that we assume they prefer and don't prefer. And we generally value our actions based on the impact that we have on said people who generally have like a certain set of preferences that we all understand. And when you start to destroy those internal sets of preferences, and when you start to destroy all of those things, well, then I guess all of your moral statements would change. But it's not because the moral statements are inconsistent. It's because you've created a new category of thing to apply the same moral statements to. Whatever you're talking about at the end of the day, that's not a human, right? Oh, what about humans that want to be raped? That's not our conventional understanding of a human being. Conventional human beings don't want to be raped. Conventional humans don't want to be stabbed. Conventional votes don't carry a $1 billion donation to the homeless. That's not a conventional understanding. If it was part of the fact that a vote could send $1 billion to homeless people, then we would totally change the way that we vote. We would change our understanding of it completely. Like,
the rule is the rule about outcomes.
Then it's a different outcome now.
Wait, so then what is the rule then? Sorry, explain to me the rule. Is the rule about outcomes?
oh my God.
Yes, as I said from the beginning, that's what you were testing was outcomes.
But in this,
Every single moral hypothetical with Pisco is the portal question. I don't know if you're aware of that. That's what's happening to this. Okay? The reason why the portal question is so weird is because imagine you have to walk through a doorway. Okay? Tell me, if you walk into the doorway at 5 miles per hour, what do you come out the doorway as? As walking 5 miles per hour, right? This is a single thing you pass through. I don't know why you would ever have a problem with this question. The portal question is weird because it changes the motion of the entrance to a doorway, but not the exit to a doorway, which is incredibly difficult to conceive of. It's a nonsensical question in a way, right? In the game Portal, portals operate like a doorway. They move at the exact same speed with reference to each other. You don't have like one thing moving while the other thing is stationary or whatever. Like it's just like these things are always moving in a way that it's that they work with one another basically. They have like some consistent frame of reference. But the portal question, it challenges that. Okay, when you take actions, okay, like this, why is murder bad? Well, murder is bad because most people every human being does not want to be murdered or killed. We can say unjustified killing. Killing is bad because nobody wants to be killed. But as soon as you start saying things like, well, what if there are some people that want to be killed? Okay, well then I guess murder wouldn't be bad then as a rule. But the rule that you're crafting there is for a different ontology. It's for a different set of things with a different set of characteristics because our understanding is all humans don't want to be killed. That's a default assumption that you make with every single human that you encounter with. Even if they're asleep, if you come across a person passed out on the side of the road, even if you came out with a person passed out with a rope around their neck, you would still assume they would want to live. That's part of what our understanding of human being is, right? Is that they're somebody who doesn't want to be killed. So when you start removing what we would assume to be the logical outcomes, the causal relationships between our actions and our consequences, when you start removing these things and changing the things you're talking about so dramatically, you're asking nonsense questions that have no bearing on actions in the real world. You can't have one portal move and another portal not. You could create things with infinite speed, and you could create things that move faster than light. There's so many reasons why this doesn't work. You have infinite energy, it doesn't work. And every single moral hypothetical with Pisco feels like the portal question, where one thing is broken off from another thing, and then you're trying to understand how these two things can work when you've totally changed how anybody would understand these concepts.
A situation in which there's a no effect on the outcome, then the rule should say that it doesn't matter, right? To vote for Trump.
Yes, but as I said earlier, if I'm going to make an exception for a single individual, I would have to have a reason for that single individual to have an exception. You gave me one.
Yeah, so there was a reason in one case, and that reason was $1 billion to charity, and the other reason is it doesn't affect anything. Both outcomes.
Correct, but in one I have a reason for the change. The other one I don't, and now I'm just inconsistent for some reason.
No, you have motivating reasons for both. In one, it's $1 billion.
Okay, so then let me ask you the same question. Somebody goes to vote for Trump. No, because I have answered, but I don't understand how you could possibly differ from this. So I want to hear you answer the same question. If the person's going to vote for Trump, what is their vote bad?
Yeah, I would say because when we were analyzing votes as individuals, we're not criticizing the vote in terms of its instrumental effect on the election. We're just criticizing the state of world that somebody is wanting, right? We're basically criticizing desires. That's when you talk about individual votes. Obviously, when you talk about collectives voting and where it actually affects margins and outcomes, then you can start to consider outcomes 100%. But when we talk about one individual, right, there's a reason why you criticize Hassan Piker or Mike from PA or any of these lefties to the extent that they didn't vote for a candidate, right? And put aside their non-endorsement. Just take about their vote individually. So assume that you talk to a lefty who you're just meeting now, and they said, I didn't vote for Kamala. You would, but they say something like, but I lived in a blue state. I lived in a blue state, so it wouldn't have mattered. You would still condemn that action, right? And it wouldn't be because, oh, you had a detrimental effect. You were going to put New York in jeopardy. It's because when we're criticizing and saying it's immoral, what we're really doing is we're criticizing a signaling effect. We're criticizing a disposition. We're criticizing someone's belief that they want the world to look a particular way. That's what's being criticized.
No, the belief is manifesting itself in an action of saying that you didn't vote. Because we would say that not voting is bad, but there's a separate action of signaling that you didn't vote, which is arguably worse. That's actually the worst action. Because depending on who you are, What would be more important? Hassan Piker to vote for Kamala Harris and tell people not to, or Hassan Piker to not vote for Kamala Harris and to tell people to vote for her? Those are two separate and distinct actions. The signaling thing that you're doing here is an action unto itself.
Not the vote as vote. We're criticizing the belief.
No, it's not just a belief. When you say something, when you put something into the world, that's an action. The translation of the belief into a statement is an action. And the action is telling people, the implication being, is not to vote by saying, oh, I didn't vote. Huh. Like, how do you manifest any belief into something in reality? Like we can't read brainwaves?
Vote as vote. We're criticizing the belief.
That is...
It's confusing. Like I said, I don't know if I would catch this in the middle of trying to do the argument. Like, it's such a nonsense. Everything about this question is so nonsense.
I feel I don't.
Right.
To me, these aren't super separate. Hold on. So I don't know that I separate these all that much. That because the same thing that if all of a sudden I don't find it impossible that New York could turn red, and so this one individual in New York holding the standard, they want these things, and because they want these things, they go vote for it, and when they vote for it, it gets these outcomes. If enough people do that, so you hold the standard that is bad because each individual.
You keep fighting the hypo. You're saying if enough people do X, Y, Z, but we're
I'm explaining why I would hold the standard in general, and I'm saying that when you're giving me a hypothetical, I'm saying this is why the standard exists. This is why the principle exists in my eyes. When you're giving me a standard that doesn't delineate from my standard, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
So your standard is that the vote is bad because individually voting, if X exists, right? If some other thing exists, would be determinant in terms of the overall outcome, right? And that would change results.
Oh my God.
But there's a big problem with that, Tom, which is if there's a trend against a given result or a trend for New York to go red, your one vote isn't going to affect that trend either, right? Your vote isn't affecting the trend, and it's not affecting the ultimate outcome. It's affecting neither.
Yes, it's a standard. That's how standards work. You hold a principled standard. And you hold it consistently across each person.
Independent of the outcome.
Well, no, because again, the outcome is that if enough people do this, then it does change the outcome. That is the reason for the standard.
Not one vote.
No, but the idea that one vote will change the outcome is what's important. Just like one person, why is it bad to pollute? One polluter has almost no impact whatsoever on the environment. And there might be a trend towards more pollution. But you would hold the standard of not polluting with the hopes that enough people would not pollute as part of the standard and the system that you would have a meaningful impact on pollution. But this is he's looking at an individual action and he's divorcing it from that individual actor being able to change the entirety of some system that this belief is held to perpetuate, right? The system of voting. And then he's saying if you can't effectuate a total change in the outcome, that somehow the individual action has no justification behind it anywhere. This is retarded.
Not one vote. Agreed. Not one vote.
Yes, not one vote. That's why I said if enough people do it. That is why you have the standard. So that enough people never do it.
You as an individual voter, you're not going to affect whether or not enough people do it.
Correct. That's why you hold societal standards so that it is.
But you're getting meta on me. You're saying basically
morals are kind of meta. Well, no, I'm sorry. Hold on. Not all morals are kind of meta. You could very easily look at just murder, I think, in a vacuum. But voting, the whole concept of voting implies the existence of multiple voters. It's impossible to fathom voting in a vacuum. How could you possibly entertain a hypothetical about voting in a vacuum where you are the only voter, or where it's you or only against 1,000 other voters that are all against you? That's not what the concept of that's not what voting means. Just like 10,000 years ago, the concept of pollution on a widespread scale didn't exist. You could throw something in a river. Maybe that would even matter. You just move up the river. These concepts don't exist unless you're at scale. It's a meaningless concept.
You're basically saying we should tell people.
That's how I do fucking. That's meta.
Voting is meta. Why would you vote if there's one person on the planet? You wouldn't need to vote at that point. It would just be you. It's an abstract system of things. I almost wonder if he tries to pick the perfect analogies to obscure whatever the fuck he's trying to communicate as much as possible.
I
Jesus.
analyze
that's meta.
morals.
Wait,
that's how I analyze morals.
Tom, that's meta. You're basically saying, what is it moral to say? But I'm not asking what it's moral to say. I'm asking what's moral to express. I'm asking what's moral.
Yes, hold on. I am saying that I analyze the morals based on how it would affect these things societally, and that if there is a negative effect societally, if this becomes a norm, that
Like, it's so funny. He chose literally the most meta action, potentially, that we literally do in a democracy. What could be more meta than voting? It's like the most meta thing you could possibly do. It's like 300 million or however the fuck many are registered to vote, people going to the polls to choose the direction of our country. Like, it's like he probably chose the single most meta action you could ever possibly choose, ever. Like, what the fuck?
that is the thing that I'm trying to avoid. So on an individual basis, we try to stop that by treating the individuals based on this standard.
Okay. I guess I don't understand. We can agree to disagree. Okay. And how does this relate to anti-Semitism?
Well, that is the thing that I'm trying to get at, is that like the like in a bunch of different circumstances, like I said, like calling somebody the N-word, like one person saying the N-word with a hard R, it doesn't do a whole lot. Like it doesn't do a whole lot. It doesn't mean a whole lot. It hurts somebody's feelings, just like saying, you know, they're stupid does. Like maybe a little bit harsher, but there's a lot of things that you can say to somebody that's mean. But there is yeah. Clip it. But it is like dehumanizing language that, if allowed to be used at a like societal rate and becomes a norm.
By the way, I did notice this in the way that he speaks, and now I don't know, bro. I think I am. I do believe I'm mindful of myself a little bit more conspiratorially here, but there's a very specific thing that I've noticed that Pisco has started to do, and I don't know if this was a tip that he got from the Gisticlers or somebody else. There's a very particular thing that Pisco does. When I say that he tries to clip people, listen to when he is talking about disagreements that he's having with anybody that he perceives to be around my community. There's a thing that he'll always say when they're angling to capture some people or dissuade some people from agreeing with him. He always points out who agreed with him in an argument and then who disagreed. And he makes it very clear. So like they'll be talking about a thing like, oh yeah, like we said this. And remember, in that conversation, Hutch agreed with us. Remember when we did that stream, Hutch agreed with every point we made. And remember, we were talking in Wick, and Wick said that. Remember, all four of us, we all agreed on that point 100%. He's very careful to point this out consistently. I don't know why. I don't know if it's a thing that he's always done and I'm just noticing it, or if I'm just more paranoid or whatever, but like I notice that he does that very explicitly to like signal us like, we agree on this thing, they don't agree. We remember when we had a talk, we all agreed on this thing, right? We all agreed. It's annoying. Oh my God, I hate all this. This whole space is so obnoxious.
Dehumanizes these people overall, makes it harder for them to get jobs, makes it harder for them to get...
These are all just like reasons, right? Like these are all like reasons for having certain conduct. I'm just like, but the question isn't the question, what is anti-Semitism?
I don't even know how they got back to here.
When you say, yeah, but I'm saying why it's bad. The reasons for why it's bad.
We're not talking about why anti-Semitism is bad. We're talking about whether something is anti-Semitic.
Is something that's good ever anti-Semitic?
It's possible. Agreed.
It's just, we've just tortured all these concepts so much. I just don't even know, man. And it's like, are these union statements or conditional statements or whatever in moral philosophy? It's like, oh, you think anti-Semitism is always bad? Oh, well, what if I could engage in one unit of anti-Semitism, but 10,000 children's lives will be saved? Wouldn't you say the anti-Semitism there was good? And then the answer would be no. You would say that despite the badness of the anti-Semitism, that there was some amount of goodness that overcame the badness of that thing. It didn't actually make the thing itself good. You can just outweigh the bad of that thing with something else. Like we would agree that pollution is bad, but there might be reasons sometimes, maybe, to pollute.
I don't know.
Logically possible. Is it
logically possible?
But you're not aware of it? You can't invent a hypothetical? Okay, so I'll give you a hypothetical.
No, he's gonna no, he's not.
Literally part of my definition that it would have to have a negative outcome. So no.
Wait a second. Hang on a second. So wait, anti-Semitism, the whether something's anti-Semitic, a necessary component is that it be bad?
Yes.
Okay, then where's that? Where are you finding that definition?
I said at the beginning that I think it's the same for all of these things, whether it's racism, homophobia, transphobia, anti-Semitism, that they are some sort of like negative, unfair bias or unfair discrimination. The unfair aspect obviously is bad. And then the fact that it would have some sort of negative outcome, that like this is what bad means generally. So it's...
Okay, so what is it? So sorry, say it again. What is anti-Semitic? What is...
Unfair bias.
What is... anti-Semitism. All right, I'm going to write it down. All right, sorry, hang on a second. Unfair bias.
Mm-hmm. Or unfair discrimination.
Or unfair discrimination.
Oh, man.
Based on their Judaism.
Based on Judaism. Okay. All right.
And I'm saying
so
that it
I don't
would
actually
be
have I don't actually have a huge
bad
problem
or
with
anti-Semitic.
I actually don't have a huge problem with this definition in terms of what people most ordinarily think.
Oh boy.
So unfair bias or unfair discrimination based on Judaism. I think that's fine because I think bias here, right, indicates some mental state of a human being as applied to individuals. Well, let's just disambiguate that first. For
I don't think anybody would have ever used the term bias like this. Like, bias only implies a mental state, but not an action. Like, it's so hard to imagine being critical of, like, I'm sure we can in like a philosophy classroom, or if we're doing like thought experiments with friends, but the idea that we can so easily and quickly disaggregate or disentangle a belief state from any action is just such a nonsense way to view human beliefs. Like, every action that we have is preceded by a belief related to the action. Like, we don't take actions randomly, right? I think, right, we agree that we don't take actions randomly. We have beliefs for why we do the things that we do. And the idea that, like, well, let's go ahead and start entertaining the concept of having all these beliefs with no actions attached to them is just such a weird way of conceptualizing anything.
a person to be anti-Semitic, they must have an unfair.
It's the same Hassan Piker who just last month pointed out to his viewers that he adorned his set with a photo of the attack.
You might have noticed some changes behind me.
Oh, he's such a lunatic. Oh my God.
I finally framed the Cutie Cinderella newspaper from 9/11, the morning of 9/12, the newspaper right there. The newspaper that covered 9/11. It's now officially sitting behind me.
CJ, you're
Like, I don't even understand what the what the point of that is. Is there, like, I guess they're trying to say, like, oh no, he loves 9/11, that's why he put it behind him. Like,
where would anybody ever get the idea that you love terrorist attacks against Western nations? I wonder, Hassan. Where would we ever get that idea from?
Like, as though it's not one of the most significant news stories of all of our lives.
You see the Nazi talking points here? Like, this is like the same shit. Like, what was it called? Is it Succession?
Okay. And this other one that came up, just to fend this off. Have you ever read Mein Kampf? Yeah, a couple times, I guess. A couple times? Are there Easter eggs in there you didn't get the first time? Look, I'm interested in that period of history, Tom, okay? I've skimmed it. Yeah, thank you. And what specifically do you find interesting about that period of history? The scale. The tragedy. Hell yeah. Yeah, and which tragedies specifically? Europe decimated. 7 million Germans, 20 million Russians, 5 million Poles. Yeah. Just checking the till here, Mark, and it seems you're short a few million.
He's so stupid. He's such a
Like, they literally are like, no, if you're Muslim, you can't say anything.
Oh my God. This is like I feel like I pre-watched Today, where it's like, what is anti-Semitism? Well, you can harbor a whole bunch, you can have a whole bunch of rhetoric or statements or actions that literally make every single thing you say and do completely, totally indistinguishable from any card-carrying neo-Nazi. But as long as you don't interpersonally hate all Jews, you're fine. Meanwhile, Hassan, it's kind of weird that you worship terrorist attacks against the West. Oh, so you hate Muslims?
What about 9/11? You can't. Really are like, no, if you're Muslim, you can't say anything about 9/11. You can't. You can't even recognize its significance. I'm a media professional.
Oh my God, he's trying to make me suicidal. Media professional now. Wow, how many new titles does this guy get in a week? Media journalist. Oh, but then also small-time Twitch streamer, white, but also Muslim, so Muslim that he's experienced extreme Islamophobia. Like, what the
Like, that part is actually the most insane. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, he's agitating us.
He calls it agitprop. You do. Your whole goal is
He's
agitation.
doing it on purpose. He's like flexing, like I did 9/11 or some shit. Okay.
She's like, what am I? Jewish?
Reaction.
I mean, that part is like 100% Islamophobia through and through. So
Oh
if I
my
catch any of you
fucking
dumb in here being, if I catch anyone in here,
Oh, who's running the tight ship now? Remember earlier when I said if you don't agree with me that Pisco's anti-Semitic, I'm going to permaban you. I'm going to look for everybody and permaban you if you don't agree that Pisco's anti-Semitic. Now, who's running the tight ship now? Hold on.
phobia through and through. So if I catch any of you dumb in here being, if I catch anyone in here being like, well, don't you feel like you lean into, as you said, America deserved 9/11? Like, you are 100% caving to 1,000% Islamophobic narrative making here. Like, that's it.
So also, yeah. So hold on. Is he Islamic or what? Was he white or?
I'm sorry. I feel like I was missing a little bit of a Hassan slop. And can you imagine if, like, someone had a paper about the Holocaust, like the camps, like how many were killed, and they had that hung behind them? Like, the idea that you would be like, what do you mean? I'm just, I just really like World War II. Insane.
Yeah.
Just absolutely, like...
Kind of, yeah. I mean, like, it's... Yeah, I mean, I think I'm agreeing. But, like, the problem isn't the paper. It almost has nothing to do with the paper. It's the fact that he's literally... One, he has the edgy statement about America deserved 9/11, right? Which, regardless if you can justify, that already makes it a little sus. But the fact that he continually watches and supports terrorist attacks against every Western nation on the planet... Why would anybody think any differently with you having a fucking 9/11 paper in the background, other than you think it's fucking based and awesome? Like, of course...
You know what the litmus test for this is, like the Occam's razor. Like that, maybe it feeds in a little bit to your debate with Pisco and anti-Semitism. Like, what is it? What is this thing? How you define this word? I think the best way of doing this is like, what is the common person? What would they think in this situation? So if you were to put 100 people that had a 9/11 newspaper framed behind, in their room, how many of those people do you think would the common person say, that guy kind of hates America, he's a little bit of a terrorist enjoyer? How many of those people do you think that would be? And it would be a huge majority. And it would be the same thing of like, hey, if there was someone who had like some, Holocaust memorabilia, to put it in a nice way, behind them, do you think those people might be a little bit not a fan of the Jews? It's just...
Maybe, yeah. You would need a whole bunch of other stuff to not feel that way. Like,
you would have to be like, I'm running a fucking museum.
No, it
like,
doesn't have to be.
for everything.
My aunt was in the NYPD for 20 years and lived in New York City. I could totally see her getting something like this because she was a first responder. Like 9/11 is for any fucking person that grew up in New York City or that lived in New York City when it happened.
Or the journalist who wrote the article.
Sure.
Or the byline
or anybody that was like in that environment. Like people in New York City love fucking New York City. I could see it. But like when your wall is full of like America shit and you're on the record saying so much crazy shit. Same thing with like Nazi memorabilia. Obviously it would be edgy to have. But if you collected a whole bunch of like World War II shit and it was part of like a collection of stuff, then I mean like people would understand. But if you show up and somebody only has like the platter tattoo hanging on their wall and that's it, and like, oh, I just like World War II stuff.
You know what it is? Hassan always loves to say shit. It's out of context. They're using an out of context clip. In this case, when you talk about Hassan having a 9/11 newspaper behind him the day after, it is out of context because the context is so much worse.
Yeah.
I'm hoping the context would make it better, but it's not. It's worse. It's like, well, he does have a Luger on the table, but maybe he just, thinks it's a cool gun. Ooh, the context. No, he does. He's not a gun fan. He's a fan of some other stuff,
Yeah. He's like a sword collector, right? That's why, and he must have found one with a swastika. That's kind of weird. It's like, actually, he has no idea how to. Actually, literally the only reason he picked that sword was because it looks like a swastika. He called it the swastika sword. Yeah.
It's just...
Dude, what do you think is going to happen when they get to the... I wonder what's going to happen when they get to the Houthi interview. That shit might do numbers. Because I don't think anybody stumbled into that yet. There are a couple of statements that seem a little bit milquetoast, but like the guy's talking about like when Hassan, this retarded is giggling along at like the drugged passengers and shit, and when they're joking about the hostages that were kept for like, it was like 450 days, I think, on that ship. I don't know, man. That's pretty.
You have to remember what moved the needle before and what it does now. I have a theory about something. Like, I think that Hassan is getting popular enough now that there might be women from his past that falsely claim he did shit. Like, that does happen when people get big enough. I don't think that's good at all, but like, I could absolutely seeing that happen when people start getting big enough, like start retrospectively being like, oh, I didn't actually want to be there that night. It's fucked up, but that shit happens a lot. And he's getting big enough and he's doing crazy enough shit. As far as stuff that like he's currently done that I think that would like him over, I don't like the Houthi stuff is something, but you have to think about like what moved the needle the most for common people. And it's always been shit like he lied about shocking his dog. Like that's the type of shit.
Different
you know?
bubbles, different communities. The dog shocker thing played well on the internet communities. In real life, the 9/11 clip is the thing that is like, especially for Al Sayed. The guy he looks brown. He's got a Muslim name. He's spooky because he's a Muslim. You know, Republicans are racist. But you know, like that is just going to be played infinitely. It's just such a crazy thing. And then Hassan Piker, the guy who grew up in Turkey and came to the United States that is pro-terrorism, thinks that America deserves 9/11. Like that's just such a crazy, horrible thing to.
Sorry, hold on. I have to clear shit up because there's a bunch of people who are psychotic about this shit. Okay, when I say that I suspect that type of shit is going to happen, it's because that type of shit happens frequently, not because I think it should. I think it's up. Obviously, I'm just calling like the most likely outcome of what I think is going to happen. Like I don't like you guys are like we can't even talk about that because that's bad. It is bad. I don't think it should. Even this morning. When I was on stream with Moot, they were actually, for the first time in the history of Hassan's content, playing a shit actually out of context. I couldn't believe it. It was, you know how hard it is to play Hassan shit out of context? That is like, that's amazing. And they did it, and we called it out and said, this is actually crazy that they're doing this. And we said that. But don't ask me to like not tell you what I'm thinking or not tell you what I'm saying because you think it's not going to be. I've never been this guy. I don't give a shit, right? If obviously of how they've played shit over.
If it were to fuck him over,
what?
Well, no, I don't want to speak it in. Oh, fuck.
Just say it.
No, I actually can't. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm typing it for you. This would be crazy, but I'm not going to say this just because the idea is actually so insanely powerful. This would be like unstoppable. Hold on.
Chat, you would have got this, but you told me blame the few people. I think there was like 4 or 5 people who were bullshitting at me, so you can blame them. That's why you're not getting this. Let's see.
Like.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yep, that would do it. Oh man, and that would sure put some people in a pickle, wouldn't it?
Like, there's nothing, right? There's literally because.
Yeah.
But I obviously I can't even speak that into existence. But like, yeah, it's Jesus.
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with you. But I think all those things will, I mean, this and more is going to happen. The 9/11 shit is bad. I got to be honest with you on one thing. Not that I would lie to you. I'm using that as a phrase when I say I got to be honest. It's not like most of the time I'm dishonest with you.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, but I just, I wanted to throw that out there. So that said, I got to be honest with you. I don't have much respect for Hassan. But I have respect for his hustle as to how much he streams, even though it's out of vanity and for money. I did lose some respect for him doing the 9/11 poster behind him, not because I don't he's in the game, he's on that side, that's signal boosting, but because of how incredibly stupid it was to do it. That is the biggest sabotage thing of all time to do. Like that is, the juice was not worth the squeeze on that one.
But do you understand why?
There is no why. There was something you could have done instead of that.
Well, yeah, but there's a why, and the why is the thing that I've been bitching about forever is that nobody on the left covers him fairly. He thinks he's invincible, and he isn't really crazy to think that. Dog, this guy is watching terrorist attacks on Twitch, cheering them on, and he hasn't ever gotten banned, like almost ever on this platform for anything. So, much like Arnold Schwarzenegger made, why wouldn't Hassan think he could literally get away with anything and nobody will ever hold him accountable? The guys with some of the toughest interviews in the world, Mehdi Hassan, and he sits there and he glazes him the whole fucking time. He doesn't hold a desk for anything. He's on all these shows. Nobody asks him a critical question ever. He's never fought with Republicans in his entire fucking life. He's got even.
Well, I mean, he is now.
Yeah, now he is. Yeah, but I mean, like that's what. Yeah, that's probably why he's like so arrogant. He's like, oh, I got the 9/11 poster. He has no concept of what it's like to actually be held to account for something. This guy's never been held accountable for his entire life, right? Imagine if you worked for a media company and you were out there saying America deserved 9/11. You would have been fucking shit canned. But why didn't Hassan get fired? Because his uncle owns the company and he brought him on TV and made him apologize. So like he's never had a consequence in his life for anything. So it's not surprising, you know?
Like the crazy shit, I cannot believe that there is a bill in front of Congress, a bipartisan bill, to say that this guy is the most anti-Semitic man in America, basically, right? That's not Nick Fuentes that has this bill coming for him. It's Hassan. Okay,
yeah. And it's not even like he's in like it's not even like
crazy.
he's not in good company with like Norm Finkelstein. So look at what they're doing. It's with Candace Owens. It's like
Candace Owens.
Yeah.
So you have that, right? Like a bill against a civilian condemning them. I don't think that's happened since Farrakhan, as far as I know.
Mm-hmm.
So this is extraordinary to have happen. And then also, I think that you can very clearly point to the fact that Twitch has allowed this guy to consistently discriminate against people on a basis of national origin, nonstop, right?
Yeah,
without
but and even like let's barely, right? When you're showing pictures of every single Israeli and they're all inbred, is that national origin? Like it's. But I know what you're saying. But like it's more than that. You know that, yeah. But yeah, I know what you mean, yeah. But even the national origin on Twitch is TOS. That's a TOS violation. Didn't Forsen get banned for 30 days when he was playing CS:GO because he said Russians? Or was there something more to that I missed? Do you remember that drama?
Oh yes, that did. You're correct. It was for Russia.
He said I think he said retarded Russians or something. He got a 30-day ban for that, and it was in CS:GO. They might be the only group of people on the planet that have a better reason to hate Russians than Ukrainians. Like it was CS:GO, and he got 30 days on Twitch for that. That's crazy.
It is because Hassan on the daily will talk about how like evil all Israelis are. Like I mean, it's not like a secret. I think he'll say that like day to day. Is just like the only Israeli is one that has not moved to America and is now actively condemning the entire state and trying to destroy it. Like that's it. If you're an Israeli with any positive feelings about the country, you shouldn't be able to walk a dog. Like it's just so much shit like that, but so much more. The fact that Twitch doesn't do anything. I mean, it's
if it was imagine if he was Jewish on a billionaire's owned platform, and he was able to say this type of thing again about Arabs or about Palestinians. It would be riots, right? The Amazon HQ would be destroyed. It would be burned down. They would be firebombing Bezos' home and Dan Clancy's. That would be how crazy it is. But because of the direction of everything, nobody gives a fuck about anything at all. And like, just also like the audacity that this guy like cries so much about how he's being persecuted by the billionaires. Everything else, like, bro, you are the most spoiled on the planet. He's talking about getting droned because that's the only way Fox News can get a shot of him because of the huge bushes he has outside of his $4 million house, standing on top of his pool with his tortured designer dog in frame. Like, holy shit. Okay.
They have the meme images, like imagine the world if X happened. Just imagine the world if Twitch just banned this at least for 30 days once, like 4 or 5 years ago. That's it. Not even a permaban, just enough to let them know, hey, retard, that's enough. Smack him on the nose with the newspaper, realize, hey, yeah, that's a rule. Like, we would have the what did that Shonda Black say about you? We would have communism by now.
Yeah.
We would have free healthcare.
Or the
FBI
that's all it would
have taken.
The FBI visit I got where I had to explain to them that, that Mike from PI guy, when he said he was going to offer $100,000 for anybody to show up and kill me, he was just joking. I don't take this guy seriously. I hate myself. I should have told the FBI that I thought it was a real threat, so they would have showed up at his house and asked him questions. I can't believe I let him walk on so much stupid shit.
You absolutely should do that. Whenever
they ever come again,
whenever that stuff comes,
because Asmongold got a visit.
It's all completely serious every time.
I'm pretty sure Asmongold got a visit because I think Mike also made comments against him, and the FBI, I'm pretty sure, visited both me and Asmongold for those same. I think it was the same set of comments, the same time period. But I should have just told him, actually, I think this guy is going to kill me. Go investigate him. So stupid. It's just so cringe. You guys are all so fucking. What are
I
you gonna
think the one thing that, like, I think I said this to you before a little bit. Like, you know how, like, it was a shitty feeling. I know it was a shitty feeling for you, the whole Gudgel situation, right? Like, you put a lot of effort into that, and, like, it kind of, you know, basically the guy dropped out after all the bullshit. You have to understand that the feeling that you had then, that was a shit feeling. That's like this guilt by, not guilt by association, something shame by association, maybe. You have to understand the feeling that Hassan must have now over what he's putting like good people through as a result of the shit he's done.
Nothing. He feels nothing. He has no.
He has to.
He doesn't though. He's a demon. Why would he? He has no feelings for any of these people. He's completely so. Because if he did for a microsecond,
if I was Hassan,
like
I would be so sorry. I would be saying, listen, Abdul, please just condemn me.
He's not.
Please.
He's giving. Listen to his stream. He's literally giving advice to Abdul. He's like, no, Abdul should be turning this. He listened to a clip this morning where he's like, he should be using all of this for popular support. Like these clips don't matter at all. Like they should. He should be happy when they ask them. When the media asks him about me, he should just always use that as an opportunity to have like a positive media narrative or whatever. Like he doesn't give a fuck.
I guess
he's demonic.
I just can't get into the mind of an actual. I mean, that's actual like psychopath shit, right?
No.
Like what is the dark triad shit?
He's
like
just
actually
a cloud
not
demon.
feeling anything?
He's just a cloud demon. That's it. He's not even cool enough to be a psychopath. Don't give him that, okay? That's for Dexter, all right?
Man. Dude, did you... I sent you a clip. He said he's suing some dude today. Odds on this... Actually, a single piece of paper actually getting filed? I sent you the... Here. There's the clip.
Hassan acts in such a way that he will take everybody down around him if he thinks he has something to gain for it. You might call him spiritually Israeli.
Initial clip came. The initial
Is
clip
this the guy?
came
This may have
from
been the guy I said
uh,
was playing shit out of context, but I still don't know if that's going to meet the bar. Like it was what he was doing was crazy. Like I don't remember exactly what it was. It was something like he was basically like cutting up his words to make him say shit he didn't initially say. It was like no one
You could
goes
try to
that
find
far.
it. Well, no. People, the worst thing, I mean, I'm sure there are even worse examples, but one of the worst things was that the Tallarico cut from Elon Musk's America Pact. You saw that one, right? With the immigrants open doors?
I probably did. I don't remember it, but yeah, sure. I'll take your word for it.
Somebody link me this stupid tweet. It's
I
still
can
up.
imagine, like
No,
just
you
literally
can't.
putting shit together. I can. It would be like removing words like I don't like this and then having it say I like this. Like I understand how crazy people can get.
I'm just saying it's par for the course in politics. People will do like retarded shit.
So my family is from the border. My mom grew up in Laredo, Texas.
Okay, never mind. I don't know why I'm...
I don't need... I don't... It's fine.
Yep.
You don't have to ban anyone. It's okay.
Okay.
So all I was going to say
Hassan's
is...
clip is not even close to the worst of what I'm saying. I don't think he's going to get anywhere in a lawsuit.
Sure. So it was bad. I've never done anything clipping shit like out of that because I think it does take away your credibility when you actually go full out of context.
Sure.
Not even out of context.
But Republicans
when you just, like,
they have no credibility. But I know what
they
you
have no
mean.
rules.
Yeah, I
Yes,
know what you mean.
Republicans
Yeah.
have no rules.
They're
Now they're
demons.
seeing this.
Yeah.
But the I don't know if this rose to the level of per se defamation. I think Hassan would just lose on this. Even like the thing also comes to the case is like you have to prove that your reputation has been hurt as a result of this. In otherwise, like the per se defamation thing, like you're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to make $5,000. It's not gonna. Well, not anyways. Yeah, you can play it.
The initial clip came from the RNC, and now Scott Jennings is highlighting it. This is such an egregious lie. It is such an egregious instance of defamation that numerous people who hate me, like literally hate me, have actually gone out to bat and said, this is the worst instance of defamation that I have seen. I hope you sue him, which I am. I'm in the process of I'm working through litigation right now.
Yeah, we'll see.
The initial clip came from
me, actually. You know what the annoying thing is?
What?
Is he might actually be able to get it retracted, but not because of any legal threat and not because of any defamatory thing, but because all these have the same talent agency. I don't know if it's either It's not.
No. That would be possible.
Yeah,
but if so,
whoever his agent is, I think it's annoying.
I'll just double down, right? Like
What?
that's before he said. What I mean is like, he said he was gonna sue Asmongold because he called him Diddy Piker, and I think I went on Twitter and I said Diddy Piker, dog striker, abuses animals, do something, and then he shut the fuck up. I'll just do it again. Like he for the most part, Hassan really can't do anything for a lot of shit. Even in this case, I don't know. Like there's so few things now that he's himself, honestly. Like he's just Hassan verbatim will lie about people.
Yeah, of
Not
course.
in a lie of how'd someone else put this to me? Not like a lie of
omission, or it's like
an
implying
omission,
something,
which is different. Like for instance, if a lie of omission can still be very bad. Like if a doctor knows that you're on a pill and you're taking it every day, and you say, "Hey, doctor, will this other pill I'm thinking about, will this kill me?" And you don't, and he doesn't mention it. And he said, "No, it won't." That's a lie of omission if you die because he knows you're taking the other pill as well. Like that's bad. Hassan would just be like, "No, you can take pill 1 and pill 2. You'll be fine. You'll be all right. You're good." Like he just drops all the bullshit and just goes straight in with full on lies.
Pretty crazy. Not good.